we'll go ahead and call the Public Safety Committee to order for the March 26, 2012. Now I entertain a motion to approve the minutes of last month.
Motion to approve.
Is there a motion? Is there in a second? Second. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion is carried. Before we get started tonight, as we all can see, these iPads are a little new to the community tonight. If you would bear with us, they loaded them up, and there may be some technical difficulties, but we got a gentleman here that can help us through that process tonight. So first on the agenda tonight, the OSHA report. And he thought ahead, he brought some paper with him.
I did want to ensure that you had the paper copy for the first night in addition to the electrical copy you have. Okay, which report for the month of February? And for the month of February, we had a total of 18 injuries that required medical attention. You can see the breakdown that you have here. That brings the total for the year to date to 26. The total OSHA recordables of those are 23, with restricted days being 11, lost claims day 2, and other recordables 10. If you actually look at the next page, you'll notice that we are down for the previous 2 years, and that's for the 2 months in a row. We've got a downward trend for over the last 2 years, but it still follows the trending that we have for on-the-job injuries. Of that 18 that we had, the total incurred dollars for the county for the month of February is $29,750. The Board of Education had a total of 12 claims, and their total incurred dollars were $19,180. For the county general, we had a total of 6 claims for a total incurred dollars of $10,570. And one last thing to break down those 6 for the county general, you'll notice that the sheriff department had 5, and the agricultural extension office had 1 of those 6 for the county general. Just kind of a side note, if we were looking at the last 2 years that you were looking at that graph, in 2010, after at the end of February, we had a total of 44 injuries. In 2011, we had 49, and as I reported just previously here, for 2012, we have 26. So we're running about almost, well, a little less than 50%, but that's good news there.
What was the one at the agricultural extension? What was their loss time?
It was a motor vehicle accident, somebody on the job. And I'm afraid that's all I have for you tonight, unless you have some questions for me.
Any questions? If not, entertain a motion.
Last page.
Got a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion say aye. All opposed, motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank y'all very much. Y'all have a good evening.
You too. Next is the emergency management report.
Hello, all.
How you doing?
I've got spring fever, sir.
I don't think it's summertime out there now.
It is summertime. Yeah, I think we skipped spring. Nothing of significance really as far as report goes. I did want to advise the committee that I'm conducting operator training on the mobile command center. We at the EMA are extremely short-staffed, and contrary to popular belief, EMA can't be more than one place at a time. So we are training up some members of the county fire department, the county fire rescue department, to be able to operate the mobile command center when there's need for deployment, and EMA does not have the staff to send those personnel out to do that. So we're training a handful of specialized operators that are already used to driving emergency fire apparatus and the tanker capability, because if you can drive a tanker, pretty much you can drive the mobile command. And we're giving them the capability to...
Okay, stop just one moment.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
This is one where you need to tell them how to lock that page.
Okay,
We
so
need to be able to...
yes, this one is scanned in sideways. So if you tap the middle of the screen, bring up the menu system of that application, you see the little lock icon at the bottom.
Little tiny lock right there.
Hit that, and you'll be able to flip it around how you need to. And to change pages in that lock mode, there's arrows to the right or left of the lock up there. Sorry, Tim.
That's okay.
And you can go back and forth, and then hit the unlock if you need to go back home, because you can't, you're locked into that document once you're in the lock screen.
Okay, now, how do I get to where?
Oh,
I'm
the
supposed to
Goodreader
be?
application at the bottom right.
That's, okay,
Yeah, Goodreader.
thanks.
Good. We'll have a handful of members with the Rutherford County Fire Rescue Department that will have the ability to augment our response capabilities to drive the vehicle to a requested area, set it up, make it operational for the tactical dispatchers to get on the scene and perform their communications duties with the event. Also very pleased that we're in the process of conducting training with the Sheriff's Office to train all of their officers up to awareness level on hazardous materials through their in-service training program. So we're involved in that 13-week process to train all their officers up to a minimum of hazardous materials awareness level training. So we're excited about that. That's all I have as far as the report goes, and I have a budget amendment request.
You want to talk about the missing person?
Is that the one on Hippie Hill?
Burke-Sala? Yeah, I think it is, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that is Burke-Sala, Hippie Hill is.
Yes, sir. We had a late report come in of an individual that had been missing after we gained a little bit more insight into the situation. He had been reportedly missing since Sunday, which was a 2-day window before we got involved in it. This individual was from Kentucky, had apparently come down there and was getting ready to go into a rehab program. He had had a history with psychological problems along with abuse of drugs.
Was that the one out of Kentucky?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And he actually went missing on Sunday. The people that were in the vicinity decided that they wanted to search for themselves without reporting it. It wasn't reported by the father until that Tuesday. And we did a canine search into Rutherford County all the way over to Rutherford Boulevard before the trail went dry. And since we did not have any other definitive information and had no leads to go on, a little bit after 11 o'clock p.m., I believe, the incident was called. To this date, I don't know if the individual was ever located.
He was.
Okay.
Excellent.
I've got a question on that emergency command vehicle.
Yes.
I've been a volunteer for 12 years in the county, and I understand that, they do a great job, but if we've got an emergency and the volunteers are at the emergency, how are they gonna come back and drive the command post?
That's why we have a cache of personnel that we could choose from. We'll get somebody that's
Is
available.
there not a better approach we could take as the county, instead of relying on those volunteers to get that exclusive piece of equipment on scene? Maybe the sheriff's department staff that's on 24, they're on shifts, and you could train some of them, or EMS, or somebody that we know, no matter what happens, that truck can roll. Because that's my bottom line, is because we can't guarantee anything with a volunteer. You can't guarantee a truck goes to anything. You hope they can, and we've got a large group of them, but at the end of the day, that truck has to get on scene, and if they're on the disaster and there's nobody to drive that truck, it defeats the purpose.
Understand.
And I'd just like to see us look at different alternatives and maybe using some of our existing employees that we could cross-train. When the SORT team started, they had never, unless they had driven a big truck previously, I went over there in Salem Blackman's fire engine, and we let them drive and practice to get training on a big vehicle. So that, to me, that's not an issue, getting them trained on a big vehicle, but getting that piece of equipment on scene is my most important thing. I mean, at the end of the day, that's all that matters to me, and I just don't see that feasible when the responders are already responding to the emergency. They're not going to leave the scene and come back and get that truck.
Understand, and I'd be welcome to any suggestions that you have, Mr. Matt. We also have staffing consideration to look at with the full-time departments as well. I think if we have a large-scale event to that respect, that just about every entity is going to be using every employee to the fullest capacity when we have an event of that magnitude. We would probably be better off to be able to depend on volunteer resources, because they would be ultimately more available than paid staff, plus there's funding issues as well. It's already a deep hit to the belt to pull in tactical dispatchers out of everybody's budget to come in and staff and augment. and run communications for the field incident. So, but that's not to say that we couldn't entertain other venues as well, so I'm more open to suggestions.
Well, I just had some concern with the
Right.
logistics of it. I don't see it happening. We can't get enough people on scene for a house fire, let alone.
We've had these, I've got 5 individuals that have committed to this process. Now, I understand that they are volunteers and there's no reason why they're not committed to have to say yes, but they are committed to this program. And because we have a cache of individuals that we're starting with, we're gonna see how this program goes and we may add on to that. But this gives me a staff of individuals that we can choose from. If one's not available, we can go down to the list till we can get one available.
Would it be feasible if the SOAR team would also be able to respond to the vehicle as well?
That again is at all possible, but also understand that if we have a catastrophic event where there's an immediate need, the SOAR team's gonna be completely tied up along with EMS units, fire and police capabilities. Everybody's gonna be shorthanded in that type of an event, because we'll call in off-duty staff to staff the SOAR team for the capabilities, whether it's USAR activity or helping with mass casualty incident or whatever the case may be. Same with Sheriff's Department, everybody's short-staffed in that respect.
Right.
Anything else?
That's it.
All right.
All right, then we got a motion, or are you through on yours?
Yeah, I'm full on that.
No motion.
Is there a motion on his report?
Motion to approve it.
Got a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
And a second, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion's carried. Got anything else?
Have a budget amendment request to add a total of $305,454 to the emergency management budget. You may remember last round with public safety all the way up through the commission, we had a Homeland Security grant come in for 2011 in the amount of $305,454, which was approved and signed by the mayor. It went up to the state and we got it back. So this is to request that this be put into our budget so we can start spending the money.
And that's for this next fiscal year, or this fiscal year?
It's for the fiscal year 2011 grant, but it goes till 2014, I believe, is when it expires.
So this budget transfer would be for this year's budget?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Is there any questions on the recommendation?
Just curious as to where it is on this iPad.
I don't think it made it in there, sir.
It's not there, that's why I was, so do you got the paperwork on that?
I have a copy of the original.
Can I
Yes,
see
sir.
that for a minute?
And then here's the budget change request as well. Should have brought more copies.
Brian, I think, public safety might be a little bit too much paperwork right now.
You guys are doing great.
Well, that's the real, okay. Okay.
We're learning. Yeah, it's not attached. I'll give you the copy.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second to his motion?
Second.
Motion and a second, our discussion.
Okay, since I don't have it in front of me, it's grant money coming.
This is Homeland Security grant money, same thing we've been doing for quite a while.
We get it every year.
Yes, sir.
It's monies that come in to federal grants that are given out to different organizations in Rutherford County, whether it be municipalities or county government.
Funding from this specific grant will be going, the bulk will be going to an asset for the County Sheriff's Department. The rest will be going to Smyrna Fire Department and Murfreesboro Fire Department.
What are the
Hazardous materials
hazardous materials?
for the fire departments and the Bearcat Tactical.
All right, is there any other questions? Got a motion second? Call roll?
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Stephanie Phillips?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Farley?
Yes. Anything else?
I'm through, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, and have a good night. Next is the County Fire Rescue.
Thank you.
We'll have to have an extra way down.
I think this one has some pages that are flipped on it too. So.
first document is my report for this month. We had spent last week, me and Ms. Tara Simmons and Chris Clark and some of the guys from SORT, setting up and configuring the fire software that we're getting. And then this week we've been having a train the trainer out at the SORT building for for the volunteer departments to come in and try to get used to the modules on that training software, and that Dave worked on the NEVRS reporting. So we're trying to get that all set up and get it configured and get it online. And also we started 1st of March, we started a firefighter rookie school, and we're teaching that every Monday and Thursday nights.
How many folks you got?
I have 28 students in there.
All right, all from Rutherford County?
No, sir. Well, they're within the county, but they're different, all different departments. Next report is the motor vehicle accident report. We did have 2 fatalities on 26th of February. The average response time this month was actually 8.4 minutes. Average response time. Seemed like a lot of them, some of the major calls were right at the very distance from their station, so a lot of them were. We had a few on I-24 that was out to the 93 mile marker, which is kind of extended our response time, I believe. Next report is training and call volume. Sheet is just what we turn into the codes department of those houses that had damage that had to be turned into codes for remodeling or what, to the extent of damage that they had under fire. Also, on the March 1st, the new rescue truck that the county purchased went into service the very 1st of March, and that truck went to Elmville Fire and Rescue.
Any questions? Got a motion, do we have a second? Second. And a second. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Anything else?
Okay.
Thank you. Next is, I get back to the agenda.
Correction work center, right?
Paul's report.
No, correction work center.
No, I'm sorry, Correctional Work Center.
Oh, yeah, you can.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh.
Wait a minute. There it is. That must be CWC.
We're learning a little bit tonight.
Oh, man.
First page of the last board meeting held on March 5th. And report of expenditures. Everything was going good with that. We had a couple of budget transfers dealing with maintenance of the facility and maintenance of equipment, and that was passed through this committee and budget. Then E is the proposed budget that was once again approved. And next thing on there is security cameras, which are currently being installed, and most of them went into the community sanctions for the work release program. So that's pretty much up and running. We just need to get them integrated into Item G is the fundraisers, softball game. We wanna do a fundraiser for the children of fallen soldiers, and, we plan on doing that in September, having inmates play against the staff and a couple of church staffs, and pretty much just raise money for that great organization. I think that's, a good cause, and be, something for morale and for the community to really rally around. So we're in the planning stage of getting that together for September. H is a beautification project to redo landscaping, and that's going great. We changed the look in the lobby, main lobby. It looks really good. Just getting prepared. Let's see, it mentions here for our ACA inspection on the 21st of May. So we getting the grounds and the actual facility as best as we can to present it for this inspection. I would really like this committee. The ACA process is a 3-day process. That third day to do an exit interview, and we'll send out formal letters to invite you all to that actual exit interview with the ACA auditors. So we'll just send them out and let you know the date and time to be at the facility. Be a good opportunity to come out there and take a look at it also.
May 23rd.
The 23rd, yes. Should be a Wednesday.
I see with the security cameras and the community sanctions, how much closer are you to get that the work release going?
The only thing we're waiting on now is to pretty much work on some kind of tracking system. The inmates already been interviewed, the committee's been interviewing them. And we're just moving along with it. So hopefully, we've been patient with it, and that's good, because you don't want to rush into things, but I think once we get it started, we already have companies that want to hire them.
Well, that's one of those things where we're putting inmates out there into the public. We want to make sure that, I'm glad it's taken its time to
go through the process, but it's going along just great. The camera thing was holding us up, so we finally got them from the vendor, and like I said, we already installed them. They have to come and integrate them now.
Quick question on that.
Yes.
Would domestic violence violations be any of the people you would look at in this program?
They can apply, but if during the process we see some concerns with that status of the domestic violence, if the victim, there's some kind of still a statute that's saying they need to be separated and those things. That's why I want to do that tracking system, because it can pretty much narrow a field of where that individual is allowed to go.
Well, that's one of the main ones that concern me.
Right.
I would hope you would have input from the people that are concerned with those particular cases before that.
Definitely. We
with
interview everybody involved before we accept somebody into the program, and that's that is a big concern.
Well, especially on that, because you're basically releasing them back where they could, yeah.
It's a big concern. The state litter pickup for February was $37.5908. It was paid to us through the state. And the last report is the yearly report. And population, as you see, is steadily going up on a daily counts, about 175.
Yeah, no, it gets rattling off, so, a lot faster than they did when it was all on paper.
We try to keep up. And let's see. Work crews are going okay. Disciplinary reports kind of tapering down. We're doing these meetings now with the inmate population. We call them town hall meetings, which addresses their concerns on a weekly basis. Things that may come up, or tell them new ideas and plans we have for the facility. So I know this has been helping a lot with the grievances and the disciplinaries we've been receiving. Programs are doing well. GED, we're working on getting you a graduation stat. The last time we did statistics on that was about 6 months ago, so we've had a few graduated since then, so we want to get those numbers for the next meeting. DUI litter pickup, that should be picking up now with the weather getting better and better. And Any questions?
Any questions? Hearing or seeing none, is there a motion?
Motion to approve
We
the
have a
report.
motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second, all in favor of the motion, say aye. All opposed, motion is carried. Thank you. Next is, Paul's report. Good evening. How you doing, Good, you sir. Doing well.
You all got it?
I don't know if we got it now, we got something, but we don't know.
Well, I have copies, we can go back to paper if we need to. Yes.
I will always need a copy.
All right, there you go. For the month of February, you can see that we took in 487 total animals. 37.8% of those came from county jurisdictions, 13.4% came from the city of Laverne, 31.3% from the city of Murfreesboro, and 17.5% came from the town of Smyrna. You can see that we had 478 animals that went back out of the shelter with an adoption reclaim rate of 43.8% and euthanasia rate of 57.6%. At the end of February, there were 100 animals that remained in the shelter. 2,147 people visited the shelter to look for a new or lost pet, and we had 1,778 logged calls and voicemails for the month. On the second page of the report, you'll see that we had 1,177 calls received and 1,217 calls that were completed. 40.5% came from the county jurisdictions, 21.5% came from the city of Laverne, 26% from the city of Murfreesboro, and 12% from the town of Smyrna. For some reason, we saw a little bit of an uptick for the city of Laverne this month. And you can see down for the month, we traveled 8,396 miles. The third page of the report.
How many, excuse me, how many calls are unanswered as of when you did this? I noticed that you're really making strides, and I've been noticing all along that you've been
Right.
catching up that backlog, but where are we at on that backlog
I
right now?
can't tell you exactly how many calls that we
Estimate?
have backlogged. I would say there's probably 40 to 50 trap calls. That's where we're behind, is our trap calls. A lot of that has to do with the weather and when we're able to set those. We're able to set them Monday through Thursday, but if the weather holds us up, then obviously we don't need to set a trap if it's gonna pour down rain. We don't set them on Friday, Saturdays, or Sunday nights because we don't have the officers over the weekend to be able to pick those up because we go back to a fairly skeleton crew. So the traps are what's hurting us right now.
Well, if you set one on a Thursday, are you picking it up on Friday?
We would educate the person where the trap is set not to set the trap after Friday lunchtime, early afternoon,
Okay.
and then to reset it back on Sunday night. When we set a trap, we make sure that we educate that caller on the procedures and those type things, and we still have a lot of people that don't follow it. And there's quite a few folks in Rutherford County that have their own traps, and they don't follow those rules as well. They just set it whenever they want to.
How many skunks have they caught for you?
We catch quite a few skunks. There were 3 or 4 today that were caught, and I can recall one particular officer last summer. I think she brought in 8 or 9 on the same day, just that one officer. So summer's here, and it's we can already tell that it's picking up on the wildlife.
Do folks call you if there's a dead animal in the road?
Yes, sir, they do. And we have the contract that we have for the cremation service that picks up animals from our shelter also will pick up animals in the roadway.
Just a dog or cat?
Mhm. Now, if it's an owned animal and they call us, that still remains the responsibility of that owner. But we receive calls every day for dead deer. I received a dead rabbit call today that was out in the middle of the roadway. We take those calls and enter them and then forward them on to the contract company. That's included in the $75,000 that we pay them a year.
Who does snakes in our county?
We do a little bit.
So everybody wants to know that, I might as well ask.
We do a little bit regarding snakes, depending upon what it is. We don't send our officers in to handle venomous snakes, just for the issues there. We forward those to Tennessee Wildlife, and if it's something that we can handle, we'll forward them to a wildlife removal company.
Well, my personal experience, I've caught over 30 garter snakes in my backyard, and I've taken them to a better area to be relocated. I've got a trap, and I was just wondering who did that, because that's
Whose district are you moving them to?
they're keeping them in District 16, taking them down to the spring there.
All right.
But
I'm gonna call you if I have any.
I actually got in touch with a biologist from MTSU, and he came over there and was amazed. And They had over 300 babies, so,
Oh, my goodness.
yeah, that's why I wanted to get them out.
I can imagine. For the fiscal year to date, we've taken in 5,644 animals. Our adoption reclaim rate for the year is 23.7%. Our euthanasia rate is 51.5. We've had 16,512 people come into the shelter during the fiscal year, and we've had 17,698 logged calls and voicemails. Fiscal year to date, we've had 10,567 calls that were received and 10,627 calls that were completed, and we traveled 79,651 miles. The last page of the report is our rabies exposure and bite report for the month. You can see that we had 28 bites that were reported.
That's a different
You're not finding it?
It's a separate report.
Separate document, yeah.
Go back and pick up another report.
It's called the bite report.
Bite report.
Right, top.
Yep, there you go.
For the month of February, we had 28 reported bites. 8 of those animals were tested with 0 testing positive for rabies virus. We had 5 other exposures that were reported. 2 of those were tested, and 2 came back as either positive or unsatisfactory. You can see at the bottom the positive rabies detail. On February the 1st, we had a skunk that had that just had contact with a dog that did test positive. And you can see on February the 27th, we had a pig that was tested that came back as unsatisfactory results.
Is that a wild pig or is that a domestic?
Actually, it was a domestic.
Domestic pig.
Well, I'd heard there were some wild pigs out there in Rockville, and I didn't know.
I'm sure there are. This was a domestic pig that had gotten loose from a gentleman's farm, and the people's story was that it had actually come over and tried to get into their house. This gentleman killed the animal under the law. The law states that you can intentionally kill an animal if it causes imminent danger to you or your property. Unfortunately, it was back when we first started getting those warm days. They waited a couple of days because they were trying to figure out who to call, and once we got there, as soon as they contacted us, it was too late to be able to test.
I don't see if Little Red Riding Hood was in the house.
I don't know what thought was going on.
That's pretty ripe too.
Yes, sir, it was that, and the reason the state made the call to test that, they stated that about 3 years ago, there was a pig within the state of Tennessee that did test positive, so that's why they went ahead and tested this pig.
Do we pay for that when it gets tested, or does the state?
The state pays the cost, the actual lab cost. We pay a courier company to deliver those animals to the lab. It costs us $30 every time that we have to send however many, for every trip they make, it's $30, depending on whether we send 1 specimen or 5.
Well, that's good. I wish the state would pick up the autopsies.
Well, the state has actually came to visit us last month, and they really want us to start holding these animals in the shelter for their 10-day quarantine versus sending them off, because it costs them $100 per specimen. And we tried to politely explain to the epidemiologist there that, you know, if that's the case, we're gonna have to come to you all and ask you to build us a wing just to quarantine animals, and that's obviously not going to happen. We take great care and discretion on who we send and who we don't. If we have the space, we'll hold them for the 10 days versus costing the state the $100 and us the $30. But if the animal needs to go, we're gonna send it every time.
Any questions on his report? Seeing none, we'll have a motion.
Motion approved.
Got a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
And a second, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion is carried.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Okay. Domestic violence report and budget. Welcome.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Good evening.
Evening, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well.
This is your first time to our committee.
That's correct.
Would you introduce yourself to us?
I am Monique Tillage. I'm the Domestic Violence Court Coordinator for Rutherford County.
Welcome.
I only come to you once a year. So what I brought was the report based off of all of last year for domestic violence. For 2011, from January to December, we had 962 criminal cases that were managed for domestic violence court. Of those, 727 were misdemeanor domestic violence assaults. 126 were felony domestic assaults. 9 were stalking cases, and 37 were violations of orders of protection.
What's the difference that makes it a misdemeanor versus a felony? Is it aggravated?
Yes.
Okay.
Typically, if you have a case that is a felony domestic assault, back in 2011, it would have either been there was a weapon or there was severe bodily injury. A lot of times there may be a car involved, something like that.
Some kind of weapon.
Yes, sir. And then I say in 2011, because in June of 2011, there was a new law that was put into place that makes now strangulation. Any domestic assault that deals with strangulation is automatically a felony now in the state of Tennessee.
Those 962 cases that were managed, I guess is there someone in your office that actually manages that case?
Yes, sir. There's actually myself, and then I have 2 part-time advocates, and then we have our own dedicated ADA that works actually all of the domestic violence cases. During this same time frame, because we also deal with protective orders, from January to December of last year, there were 396 protective orders that were taken out in circuit court, and there were 378 protective orders taken out in chancery court. And that's a total of 774 protective orders that were filed and petitioned to the court in 2011. And then I just wanted to look at how we stand for the beginning of this year. And there has been an increase in charges that have been filed based off of what we see for January and February of 2012. We've had 171 docketed criminal cases that have been managed in criminal court compared to 116 last year, which is an increase of 55 cases or 47%. And then that trend is also in protective order court, January through February of 2012. There were 72 petitions filed in circuit court and 46 petitions filed in chancery court, which is a total of 118 petitions. And that same time last year, there were 84 petitions. So that's an increase of about 47% or 34 more petitions this year than last year.
That's sad. Anybody got any questions on the report?
Motion to approve the report.
Got a motion to approve the report, is there a second?
Second.
And second. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. I think you got your budget.
Yes, sir. And that should be on your tablets, but if you don't have it, I do have hard copies if anybody would like
So
one.
basically, your budget is roughly, what, $6,000 more than last year?
No, sir, I believe we actually went down.
Down about 18,000.
That's right, I
Yes,
looked
sir.
wrong. I was looking at 155 versus, so,
We were last year, we're at 179,000, and this year,
161.
yes, sir.
Same amount of staff, it's just that there's some different dollars there associated with the staff, and in particular, the employee insurance line is down about 9,000, so it's really not any changes except just the makeup of the staff has changed,
Yes.
which affects those numbers.
Now, we initially had some grants on this. How much of this budget is directly out of our tax dollars now versus none still?
None.
And that's on the other attachment. If you go back to the revenue piece, you can see a list of the.
Okay.
Yes, sir. The budget that we have for domestic violence court is actually paid out of offender fees and grant monies that we receive through a STOP grant. So we require no general funds at this time.
Well, what I see is about 210,000 on these different grants, be they victim assistance or
That's
the
correct.
SOC grant. Okay, so now your budget's 161,000. So it's 49,000. What happens to the 49,000?
It stays in a special account for this purpose and these uses only. It can be used
It can be
only.
used next, can it roll over to
Oh,
the
yes.
next?
Yes, and we have done that.
Okay,
If the stop grant plays out, and they don't, but they are renewing it again this year, then we would have some reserve.
okay.
And we do have some reserves even now.
Where do these victim assistance grants come from? You're showing
They're,
3 of them.
They're offender fees. So any
Okay.
offender that, you know, is brought through criminal court, they pay basically a fee, and then that fee
Okay.
goes back into the fund to assist victims.
Now, your $18,000 less, where did that money come from? That 18,000,
18,000
where were the savings?
less.
In the budget, in the expense
Oh,
side.
Social Security
As,
and-
as the mayor was saying, like, there's like 11,000 less, based off of the fact that I didn't take insurance through the county. So, that basically saved the county money. There's just a few things that if you look at it versus last year to this year, you can see that there's, you know, some savings, in the budget, but it's not less because we're basically going without something. We're still providing the same services.
Well,
It's
that's
just-
what was concerning me. I mean, your business is booming from the statistics that you gave me. I mean, there's almost 50% increase in violence
Yes,
reported,
sir.
so.
We're still providing the same services. It's just
Well, I
not
mean,
costing the county as much.
I mean, I've read of reports and seen where some unanswered domestic violence, it's, you know, caused deaths.
I understand.
That's the bottom line, and I mean, we need those followed up on as quickly as we can.
Yes, sir.
Of course, that's law enforcement too, but
Yes, sir. Since 2010, domestic violence calls have made up 51.4% of all calls. So, and that is holding true till 2012.
now, on your calls, and I know we're talking budget, but you hit a sore spot with me, is on those calls, I mean, how quickly are y'all able to get a turnaround
Well,
on getting back to
we're
these people?
actually, if you're thinking about the calls that we take,
Yeah.
by the time that a call is placed to us, typically the police have already been
Right.
out and they've made an arrest. There is somebody in our office Monday through Friday from 8 to 4.
Well, what I mean is
So-
after you've got an arrest, how soon is it before you would see a potential victim?
It depends on when that court date is set, and that court date is set by the judicial commissioners.
So it could be a week, it could be a month, it
Yes,
could be
sir.
6 months.
Yes, sir, and it depends on a lot of things. Typically, when there's an arrest made, of course, the person that is arrested, we'll call him the defendant. The defendant is given a bond. If they make bail, they show up on whatever that court date is that the judicial commissioner writes on their bond.
Right.
If they don't make bail, they come in within 10 days. We have a local rule, 10-day rule, that basically anybody that is held in the Rutherford County Jail will come to court within 10 days so that they can go before a judge. If we see that somebody is coming in on what we call the 10-day rule, we will contact that victim and let them know that this defendant is going to be in court so that they can be there in court as well. So it depends on a lot of different factors as far as when we actually make contact.
Well, I
with
was
that
just
victim.
wondering about when they would be released. I mean, if it's whoever, if they make bond immediately, say they're arrested and, you know, they're out on bond the next day, I mean, you still hadn't seen these people until there's a court date.
Well, there is, when an arrest is made, there's a 12-hour hold that is put in place. And then the defendant is also required to sign bond conditions that basically say that they will not return to the residence, they will not make any contact with any victim in a case. If they do that, that victim can call the police, and then the defendant would be rearrested for what is called violation of bond conditions.
Okay.
So
Well-
then they can basically be rearrested, and then they'll have that new charge as well.
Well, I apologize. I'll let you get back to your budget, but I was concerned about that, and I've just seen too many problems from it, so thank you.
Yes, sir.
I guess we need to make a motion on this. I make a motion to approve the domestic violence budget for 2012-13.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. All right, discussion on the motion on the floor. Hearing or seeing none. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is the drug court reporting budget.
Hi.
How's it going?
Pretty good. How's it going with you?
Good.
Good.
Yes, ma'am.
Been watched home with this weather. It's so pretty out.
Everything's nice.
I forgot my report, so you all have my report and I don't. So I just wrote down some stuff. Well,
That's your little report right there.
okay, well, I'm gonna mention some stuff and if it's not on there, whatever. Okay. Well, yeah, you can read that. Okay. First of all, I wanted to let you know that, last week I spoke to the Laverne Rotary Club and to the Sheriff's Department Citizen Police Academy. And we were a big hit at both things, and that was very positive. Neither one of, well, I shouldn't say neither one of them had heard of Drug Corps, but they definitely weren't familiar with the programs that we do, and we're very, very pleased. What one gentleman said, we always hear about the negative things. It's good to hear about the solutions once in a while. So we got some real good feedback. We will be partnering with CADCOR, the Community Anti-Drug Coalition of Rutherford County, for another pill take-back event on April 28th. That's a Saturday, and we'll have locations in Murfreesboro, Smyrna, and Laverne, like we usually do. On my report, I mentioned that graduation is April 19th at 6 o'clock. That's a Thursday evening. Hope y'all can come, especially those that haven't been to a graduation yet. Judge Ash always says it's better than going to church. So we cry and we pray and we do all sorts of stuff. Tomorrow I'm spending the day up on Capitol Hill with some of my staff and with drug courts across the state. And we're really going to be pushing the governor to, of course, include drug courts in his budget, which he has. But also a lot of people are meeting with their representatives. I'm not sure that I'll actually be meeting with any of my representatives because they all love us, so, and they want as much as they can get for us. So there's still Senator Tracy and Representative Sargent out of Williamson County are still planning on submitting a budget appropriations budget amendment. That's what it is. And I'm not sure what form that's taking, if it's for all the drug courts or just for some drug courts. I haven't quite heard about that, so maybe I'll get to talk to Senator Tracy about that tomorrow. But that's kind of looking positive for drug court, so I'm excited about going up there tomorrow. Our support foundation, in connection with gosh, I can't talk tonight, Cardinal Health Foundation grant that we have, we bought the Sheriff's Department a permanent pill drop-off box that they will actually bolt down in their lobby, and people can come in and drop off unused medication or expired medication and put it in that box, and then they can incinerate it or do whatever they do. So Laverne has one that's been very, very successful, and Sheriff Arnold asked for that, and I had enough money left in that grant to do that. So they just received it. I don't think they put it up yet, but it will have Rutherford County Sheriff's Department, it'll have Cardinal Health Foundation, and then the Recovery Support Foundation of Rutherford County, which is the new name for our support foundation. That'll all be on there. And finally, Marcus Jemison and I, who is our DUI case manager, went out to the workhouse today and met with 9 potential students of our first DUI school. And there was absolutely no problem expressed impressed about them being able to pay for the class ahead of time. They asked a lot of really good questions, and we went ahead and set up a date. So we're doing it April 17th and 18th will be our first DUI school in the workhouse. And Captain Cope is allowing any people in our drug court or DUI court that also need to take it, he will allow them to come and take it as well. So it's sort of interesting because they have to split the room up between males and females, and they have a divider down the middle of the room. So we have to sit on the divider to talk to both people. I'm not sure how we're gonna work the video and TV and everything yet, but it'll be a challenge. But I'm very excited about that. And I think once they go back and start telling their fellow inmates about it and everything, I think that the word will get out, and hopefully we can do it every month is the plan. So that is my report. I guess you have seen my numbers. Is there any questions about my report?
And you had the DUI graduation today?
We did, yes, it was very nice.
Okay,
There were
maybe
3
I
young
missed it.
women.
How many?
3 young women graduated. And so we've got 37 now that have graduated from the DUI program.
No.
Yeah.
Then the obvious question comes.
Yes?
Has any come back?
No. Okay. We have 0 recidivism rate in 4 years. That's pretty special.
Yes.
And I mean, that's no arrest at all, not just DUI, that's nothing.
Wonderful. I have a quick question. I read in the newspaper today about Smyrna's beer board and the synthetic drugs. Is that something that Rutherford County can do with the beer board, or how does that work?
Actually,
it should.
Actually, I thought someone was gonna be here tonight from the beer board and wanted to speak.
Well,
I think they had a meeting.
They're
tonight.
meeting right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
we haven't done enough homework on that. I've ever so briefly reviewed the law. It appears that the county beer boards only can issue licenses, but I don't know. I mean, I haven't read all of the code, so we need to see if we have some of the same abilities to enforce some other quote ordinances or like the cities do. And the county attorney hadn't looked at this for us.
As a former member of the beer board, we can suspend licenses.
I was supposed to say issue or suspend?
Yeah, we can suspend beer licenses on the beer board. So we suspended several laws on there for people selling to underage. Anytime somebody sells underage in Rutherford County, it's an automatic 30-day suspension of their license to sell beer, and we do it for everybody. We don't play favorites when I was on the beer board, and we do that across the board.
But there might be an issue when you bring in a different type of drug.
Yeah, there's some legal stuff that the
We're
county
going to have to have the county attorney look at this.
The Smyrna law reads if you break any law, that they can suspend it. Is that not correct? And since they had the misdemeanor charges, that was my understanding of it. But yes, I'd love to see everybody do that.
As long as we're on that subject, is there anything else that we can do as a county to help the state make up their mind on about turning it to a felony on these drugs?
I need to find out about that tomorrow.
Because, I've read in several papers, I know, what's that one we get from the national when it comes occasionally at 2 counties have really gotten strict on
I think
it.
Representative Sparks has got some folks up there that are willing to sign on his bill.
I think there's is it a Senator or Representative Shipley or something like that is doing one too?
Representative Shipley out of East Tennessee is,
Okay.
I think, working on it as well.
They had the forum on, 10, 010, yeah,
No,
up in
it's
Laverne.
10-0.
10-0, okay.
know.
Up in Laverne, about a week and a half ago, something like that. I went to that, and it was well worth my time to take off from work and go to see it, because they had some good presenters there, and you just don't realize all the stuff until you start seeing it.
Stuff, yeah, it's pretty bad. Good, well, I mean, that's what you can do is support those types of things, and definitely, I mean, write your elected officials. I'm always telling people that, emailing them, whatever. So.
Any other questions on the report? We got a motion, we need a motion on the report.
Move to approve the report.
Is there a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion is carried. Next is your budget.
Yes, that I do have a copy of. On my revenue, I need to point out that some of this revenue is approximate or iffy. I don't know what else to say. Of course, the program fees, that we've got a history, and we can tell that that's pretty much solid. The A&D school and the DUI school, that's still too new to know what sort of funding we're going to get from that. We just don't know. The drug court fees, that's pretty solid. The drug court support grant, that's pretty solid unless the governor appropriates more money. The Drug Court Support Foundation, their donation to the county for us is dependent on the 3 grants that I wrote, and I have not heard from any of them yet. So they're out there, they're written, but I may not hear from them until even possibly after July 1. I know one of them I won't hear from until August, so we'll see. One of them I should be hearing from very soon. The ADAT spot funding, again, that's very new funding. You know, I don't know how that's going to work. That's where we became a vendor for the state of Tennessee, and that is official now, by the way, that we are a vendor. We're still learning on the computer. We have one more little class we need to take. We have gotten, I want to say, so far 19 people approved to receive services, and with new people coming in pretty regularly now, they can't have insurance, or they have to have exhausted their insurance. Those types of things, and have the appropriate background, criminal background and that type of thing. So, and they have to have come into the program after July 1st of 2011. So that will build up and get better as we go. But again, I don't know how much we're going to be putting into the system to get reimbursed for at this point. DUI treatment funds, that's pretty standard. And then the county general fund. That's what we've gotten the last 3 years.
So what she's telling you, that $80,000 is minimum, unless somehow the governor changes OCJP grant and we get a little bit more of our share than the $50,000. But so.
And I mean, I might identify another grant. I mean, who knows? There's just, my funding is very fluid, or liquid, whatever you want to call it. As far as my actual budget, I did request a raise for Kay Haskell, who is our DUI therapist. She is a licensed therapist. She's a licensed alcohol and drug counselor. She is licensed to supervise other counselors that are getting their license in the counselor thing. She has national certification. And to be paying her only $16 an hour is quite honestly a slap in the face. I mean, she works hard. She works sometimes and doesn't even count her hours.
Well, where's the market on something like that as far as pay?
Yeah, we looked at that, and it was right in line with my other therapist, and we looked at somebody else too, didn't we?
I don't remember.
I think it was the assistant director. Oh, yeah, Sonia's here.
It's in line. I checked it.
Okay. Thank you, Sonia. So, we're upping our hours to 30 hours a week starting in July because of the new programs, because there's a lot of paperwork that goes with the state, us being vendors for the state. So, as much time as she puts in that she doesn't get paid for, I think this is fair. She's been with me for quite a while now. I believe, I want to say 4 or 5 years, and had worked with me when I worked at the Guidance Center. Oh, she's not even on here because she's part-time. But she has an excellent reputation, and we're very fortunate to have her, to be honest.
So pretty much you're looking at a $11,000, I can read this right, $11,000 increase, and more, and most of it, or all of it, plus looks like it's coming from that salary adjustment that you're wanting to make.
Well, I see 6,000, because last year it was 24,900. This year we're asking for 31,200.
He's looking at the total
bottom line is
up
about.
Oh, I'm sorry. The other thing that I had to put in was our licensure with the state now requires that we have training. Our staff has training, so I put in $250 each for 6 staff members, I'm sorry, which isn't very much. Honestly, that's probably 2 trainings. And then the other thing we're requesting is the maintenance for for a new copy machine, because our copy machine is 10 years old and it, just come over someday. I'll show you. The paper gets caught in it all the time. It's very, very annoying.
So salary increases are $6,000-7,000 and $6,000 or $7,000, and office supplies, because of the new copier, is also $6,000 or $7,000, and that's the bulk of the increase that you want.
Yeah.
That's correct.
That's exactly right.
Is there any more questions?
Yeah. I see the assistants, are they, line item 103? Okay. That's a full-time person, correct?
Yes, yeah, and she also carries a caseload. She's a assistant director / case manager for the drug court program.
And 161 is also a full-time?
Yes, that's Linda.
Okay. You know, look, here's my question. 103 is the same as last year. 161 and 105 are both going up. Is that based on
Step raise.
Step rate? Why is 103 not showing a step? Is she not in it this year?
We only give step raises every 2 years, and it's
Okay.
just.
She's the odd one?
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're not all on the same schedule.
Okay.
Right.
All right, now if I can get back to your work screen again, I got, going in.
Go right up to the top.
In the middle.
You guys got it?
There it is. Okay. That, the 80,000, how much is your budget's coming out of the general fund this year?
80.
80?
Same amount.
Same amount, okay. And what happens, you said some of these you haven't heard anything yet. One of them you may not hear anything from August. So how many of these are we, just give me the number of them that we're sure of. I know as you said them, some were, but some were not. And we're not, even if we do get it, we're not assured of what you've budgeted, right?
Right. 4 of them I'm positive of. And 4 of them I'm not.
Okay, so, and I assume that you, so you're counting the county general fund as one you're positive of?
No, I'm not.
You're not,
No.
okay. Well, that makes sense a little
Also,
better.
I did reapply for the DUI grant for 20,000. I just reapplied for that the other day, but we won't know about that until September. I don't know if I'll get it or not. Because they told me last year they weren't gonna give me any money, and they gave me 20,000, so I thought, well, I'll shoot the moon and try again.
What's the fee on the DUI school?
It's $125.
$125.
And the A&D intervention program is $325.
We'll know more about this revenue even before we get through the budgeting process.
Okay. Because, you know, if we're coming out with 2/3 of this budget, and that includes the 80,000 from the county general, then we're talking, you know, a fair amount of
Well, she's
increase.
gonna get some in all of the others, but not necessarily the amount that she put down there. The 60,000 on the spot funding is likely, but this is her first year into it. We think she will accomplish that, we just don't have a history to prove that yet. And she's starting that even now.
Okay. Okay.
So before it actually gets to budget, we'll have a little more information, hopefully.
Okay.
Even if it came back
That's
less,
the question I was
some
gonna
of the
ask.
grants that you apply for comes back less, we're
So we
approving
can
them
make
at
it,
a particular rate, and if they come back less, then they're really not approved.
Takes place.
I don't know that they'll come back less. I'll either get them or won't get them.
Really?
Yeah.
It's not what you just said.
Well, not on that 60,000, that's really not a grant.
I was talking about,
Within that 32.5, you're saying.
exactly. that
Some of those, there's
32.5.
about 3 there, and some of them are small, some of them are a little bigger, so.
What I'm saying though is we're approving, if we do approve the budget, we're approving it based upon an assumption that we'll be receiving those revenues. But if we don't receive those revenues, then the budget will not be approved. It'll have to come back to us, right?
We'll have to disclose to the budget committee that we don't have these revenues, and if we want to continue the same level of services, you'll either have to increase the $80,000 or we'll have to decrease services.
Okay.
I guess that's the difficult part with this budget is most departments and agencies, when they do a budget, they count a grant in a separate category. They don't count it as general operating cost, where in yours, grants and alternative funding are your general fund operating cost, and that's the hard part to grasp.
Mhm.
So it makes the confusion for everybody.
Yes, it does.
Okay. Okay, well, on this budget, when you rolled the dice on this funding, okay, my question is your point, is it gonna be a 10 or is it gonna be a 6 or an 8?
What do you mean my point?
Your point, well, you rolled, and you didn't get a 7 or 11, obviously,
Oh,
because we
I
don't
don't-
know.
I don't
What I'm
know
saying
that.
is the chance, is a 6 easier, or 6 or an 8 is easier to roll than a 10, so my point.
Has some experience, didn't
Yes, right. I feel like I was talking about.
And what I'm saying
Gambling,
is there in your mind, a
think
better
it's a-
chance that you'll
yeah.
get this than not get it,
I
is
think
what.
I think this is an educated guesstimate. I
Okay.
really do.
All right, there you go.
And, you know, I even downed some of them. You know, I didn't put a whole lot in there, like the full amount it could be, and then, again, and the Support Foundation, you know, they have their fundraiser race, and maybe they'll blow it out this year and raise $40,000 instead of $20,000. I mean, you just never know. So, we'll
But
just see.
This is the discussion we had every year.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I remember
I'm still doing it
something
for
though,
12
one of them,
years.
something happened
Most
in
of the time
mid-year
I-
one time, and that's what I don't like, I
And
don't
she's
like
been
to
very
see.
creative in
Yeah.
finding other sources of revenue and putting in place
So they
these
call that
DUI schools, et cetera, so I'd
We've
like
been
for you
killing
to
ourselves, yeah.
approve the appropriation based on the assumption that we're going to get $392,000 in revenue, and if we don't, you'll have another opportunity, the budget committee will, to tell us there'll be another shot.
I'll make a motion to approve forward to budget, and that's contingent on all these funding coming through as anticipated.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. Anything else?
I think that's it.
Put a big ass.
Thank you.
Ambulance service report and budget.
Anybody have any questions regarding iPad? Everything going all right, the last couple of departments?
We're probably okay now.
Excellent. I'm still hanging out, but well, just let me know if anything comes up.
Thank you.
Mayor, can I ask a quick question? The lady that was in here earlier from domestic violence,
Yes, sir.
is that the one, did she replace Pam phone?
Yes, she did.
Okay. Just trying to get people straight, thank you.
How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Doing wonderful.
Well, I was gonna give you an A+ on your report, but you got one in here sideways.
Well, I don't think it was them that put it in there.
Yeah.
I will pass
Yeah,
that
we had
grade.
already noticed that.
I'll pass that grade on to Vic.
Yeah, go ahead.
We made 1,974 calls in February. Our response time was 7.3 minutes. We had 34 DOAs for the month and 10 autopsies. We billed $1,238,111, collected $616,394. Our year-to-date collections is $4,153,507, and our projected collections for the year is $6,230,261. It's an 80% collection rate. Insurance write-offs $469,299. Collection agency write-offs $418,137, and what we refer to as county discount is $1,998.
The question is, do you know off the top of your head, what is the most calls you've ever had in a month? You ever heard 2,500, 24?
I don't think we've ever had 25, but we have had 24.
I was gonna say that response time is looking good, though.
It is getting better, and we'd like to see it about 6 minutes.
Yeah.
ambulance table, we drove a total of 38,373 miles. Cost per mile and the total operating cost per vehicle is listed there as well, along with significant repairs. And at the very bottom of that table is out-of-zone calls. We had a total of 536 out-of-zone calls this month. We had 8 different in-services and training. Community public relations were pretty busy. They had 12 different events. SORT has got 14 things listed there. They obviously did more than 14 things, but it's just a broad category. The next page is the response time reports for ambulance zones.
Got a quick question for you, Mike. I noticed on the SORT report that they were reported to a fire and were refilling the scuba bottles. What were they refilling it from? What?
We actually have 2 air bank systems. One in the, and there's a compressor in the SORT truck too.
Okay, I wasn't aware they had one, so good.
I think they were actually doing that way before some of the departments had gotten it.
There is no more mobile compressor anymore. The mobile compressors, it's gone. They've only got a fixed cascade system. We've got a little Haskell pump that can boost the pressure up a little bit, but we have no mobile air. That's why Larry put that grant in for the county, because the SORT team can only fill X amount before they're going out, and then there's nothing left. They have to go back to the station to fill up.
Well, that's what I was asking about that last month. What happened to those mobile units? And of course
It just was
pretty well done.
It was shot.
Yeah. Now, what is it? Lance Cassis? I know Kittrell's got a unit. Who else has got one?
The county's got 2.
Yeah.
The county owns 2 units now.
Yeah.
So
there's 4 out there plus.
And then the SORT truck can fill up at any. They could go out to Kittrell and fill up, or fill out. They don't have to fill up at the SORT building. They can fill up anywhere. They just got to go somewhere to fill up. So.
Okay, sorry, Mike.
The next page is ambulance calls broken down by commissioner districts. Also a table for our national calls and our critical transport team calls. Critical transport team had 43 critical transfers, primarily from the medical center here in Murfreesboro. And they also made 92 911 responses. The next page is the same data except it's year to date. Is this the page that's in there sideways? It's sideways in my paper. This table just simply tells you which ambulances made calls into which zones. And the outstanding one on here, of course, is the Manchester Road Station, which makes 120 calls into Zone 4, which is MTSU station. And that's obviously, that's a trend that has been going on now ever since the medical center moved. And there's 2 or 3, or maybe 4 thank you notes. That's 5, I guess.
Any questions on the report? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion on the report.
Move to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Got a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
And a second, all in favor of the motion say aye.
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 All opposed, motion carries. And we got, the budget. Let's see.
Let me get it up for you.
Okay. I'm learning on this
Good.
thing now.
Good job.
You want me to go through this line item by line item, or the one that
Well, let's
is
see,
different? Or?
what is, your total budget increase is what? About $100?
$160,000.
$160,000.
Well, I want to point out something to you. If you look at line item 399, which is other contracted services.
You'll be able to turn these.
399, okay.
The increase in that one line item is $225,000 or so. And that's actually a misleading figure because we pay our collection agency according to how well they collect. Obviously, they've been collecting very well. And so if they continue at that rate, that's why that is.
So that's basically why your end result number is as high as it is. So there is some cuts in here.
There's some cuts and there's some increases, but as far as the total is concerned.
Is that the only thing in that line item, or is there other stuff?
There's other stuff in there, but primarily that is due to that billing service that we're using.
What do y'all pay for y'all's medical director each year? Is that the same thing each year, or is that?
It's the same thing.
Okay, I just didn't want it to be like the sheriff's department where it goes up for.
All right, if it goes up, you're notified of it.
Well, the medical director's in a separate little budget, is it not?
Yeah, we're at a small budget.
Small budget, and it is going up a little bit, but that comes through a different budget.
Okay, well, interesting to know.
There, let's see, there's some things in here that I won't be recommending, but they're in here right now.
I have another question. When a EMT goes from EMT to paramedic, y'all, is that a promotion, or do you just go ahead and pay them to that next level since they're?
It's a different.
Since that is a pay grade?
Yeah, it's a different pay grade altogether.
Now, is there another pay grade on top of paramedic?
Critical care.
Is there, do y'all limit that, or do they, once they get their critical care status, do they get paid at that?
That generally, well, if they don't keep their critical care up, then they come off of it.
Yeah, well, yeah, that too.
Yeah, and that is something that has to be renewed, just the same as your paramedic license or your EMT license.
Are those paramedics allowed to get that on their own, or?
They have to get it on there.
Okay. I just didn't know how that whole,
That-
because everything's tied in one
Yeah.
pay grade, where some departments have, listed in by position and whatnot. Like the sheriff's department, we have lieutenant sergeants, and everything's in one line item within your department. That's fine. I was just wondering how that worked.
The number of critical care paramedics, ever since probably a year after we started that program, has been pretty stabilized. We'll lose some, but we'll gain some. There's not been a gradual increase in the numbers of those people at all. It's a difficult certification to get.
Well, we're thankful for those that have it, so.
Mayor, you said something about
Well,
some things that you.
all of the items down to, I agree with all of them down to 708 on communication equipment. I have a note that I was going to recommend 15,000 instead of 23,000 there. And on motor vehicles, I'm not going to recommend anything there for new ambulances. And under 735, I have rounded that off to 60,000.
What's that make your total?
15 and 8 is 23. That would be 60. I haven't really got it, but I'll give it to you here shortly. About 10,644,000.
What'd you say you're gonna do with communication?
15.
That's not 307, that's the other one.
That's 708.
708, you're reducing to 15.
15, 718.0, and 735.60.
And 708, the communication equipment, what does that entail? Handhelds and
But
mobiles?
he's got a note out beside that.
There are 2 radios
Oh.
for ambulance and a router for sort, convert from VHF to UHF.
What is he getting from property tax now? 9.5 cents?
Is that 8?
Yeah. You know,
Without looking in my book.
you
You
know,
may be right.
because it was 10 when we first did it, but then everything
We
changed
took
with the
took just a
reappraisal.
tiny bit back this year.
Well, but it went less because
Ambulance service is now .0829.
0.0829. So that's gonna be roughly $5 million or so is what he'll get from it this coming year, right?
Unless, well,
Okay.
all this revenue is yet to be evaluated
Yeah.
as we look at the revenues for this whole year and project those forward.
Yeah.
And his revenues, quite truthfully, is better than we projected, so he's one of our departments that may help us somewhere else when we get to that point in the journey of discussion.
Bottom line on this total, though, you're about 10,000 under what you were on the last budget.
About 100,000.
100,
About
okay.
100,000 under.
But we've got the other thing is we still got a lot of, old ambulances. And we got more ambulance stations now than we did 4 years ago or something like that.
If he takes the ambulances out of the budget, then you also, and he's right, you also need to take the radios and the routers out because we don't have any else.
But you're saying, but what you're getting in payments using this contract people, it's gonna be definitely higher than you've ever gotten before, isn't it? This is the first time a full year's come through.
It definitely is. We're projecting 6.2 collected right now.
Usually it's been what, about 5.5 is about as much as we got. Well, it's just, and you'll get an update from what it actually is here early next month?
Well, he gets a report every month, but every month that goes by, we'll have a better projection on the 12 months.
I'm just, because we've done a lot of things, in the last couple of years, a lot of things have been done different.
This new approach that's being taken is really, really helping, and it's been a step well taken, and it may give us a little bit of flexibility in reducing tax burden. We don't know officially yet. But that'll be coming to Budget Committee.
Yeah.
And we've got some other things underway that we're doing right now that it may affect it even more.
And would you repeat that bottom line one more time, Mayor, if you got that written down?
10,644,000.
Okay.
I've got another question I was gonna ask you. In relation to the part-time personnel and overtime, is there any way you can utilize the part-time more instead of paying overtime out?
No, because our part-time people, you gotta realize that all of our ambulance people are licensed, which means that our part-time people have to also be licensed, and a licensed person is not gonna just work PRN or part-time. They're gonna have a full-time job somewhere else. So what we can do with our PRN people is cover scheduled time off. Rarely can we use one to cover, for instance, when someone calls in sick, because we don't have enough lead time.
I just didn't know if that was cheaper or another alternative
It would be cheaper
to
if we could.
save money, and then those ambulances come around a lot easier to replace. Just trying to look at something, I didn't know if that was a possibility or not.
We're saving money every time we use PRN people because they don't get benefits. And it would be nice if we could use those for overtime, it just doesn't work that way. And occasionally you might be able to get on the phone and find out people that, so on the census are pretty good actually, that they'll be at work. That's a full-time job.
What's he call it, health and welfare?
On the
So he's
new
in the same
request page, is that
fund balance.
reflected in the budget?
But it's pretty helpful.
No, that's just.
Can you talk about the power team?
I think that what it will would take to fix this power team issue with Manchester Road. If we had an ambulance that was on duty every day, that we could basically send into a zone that had been vacated due to that ambulance making a call. But that would alleviate the bringing another ambulance out of zone, because we have, what we have here, we've got MTSU. Well, first of all, we got which is the busiest ambulance in the county. And then we have MTSU and Salem Road, very close to Burton Street in total number of calls. So we've got the three busiest ambulances in the county.
That's why I wanted that
backing
number.
each other up.
Yeah.
And so if you get a call in the Burton Street zone, and that ambulance is out of there.
I'm going to make some notes on
You
it.
send,
I'm not familiar.
say you send
to
MTSU
sit
in
right
the
in
Burton
a
Street
number right
zone
here
for
from
the
the
next
side.
call, and that vacates two
So if I
zones.
type it in right here.
So you know, it's just, it's kind of like a dog chasing its tail. Power team, a true power team would be able to just move right into the zone. In other words, Burton Street goes out, that team just goes to Burton Street.
With the number of calls that y'all
Where is
have,
this
probably
gonna go?
60% of them are inside the city limits of
Every
Murfreesboro.
line I hit.
How many times does those three stations right there normally are on a call versus, or simultaneously?
Much more than you probably think.
Right.
If you look at that sheet that was in your computer sideways, that would give you a good impression of where they're actually making the calls, because you'll see Burton Street is making calls in Burton Street zone and MTSU zone and Salem Road zone. When you got your three busiest ambulances right together,
Right.
then it's just gonna work out that way.
And how many total stations are there? 11?
12.
There's 12. So virtually 3 stations are running 60% of your calls. So there's a lot of times that they're gonna be on the same, I mean, not on the same call, but, different calls simultaneously.
It's
I wanted to,
sometimes
the
it gets to be
definition
just
of that
visual
word.
languages,
I know one of those other documents I know.
Well, I know when I was in Murfreesboro, a lot of the calls were the headquarters area, the Murphy Station area. You know, that was where a lot of those 3 ambulance stations are at the same place. And a lot of the calls were actually going in that area, which is like your commission district. You know, I mean, there's a lot of, you know,
What
calls out there.
what happens when the hospital starts doing their own transports? Because I've heard that's coming down the line where the hospital's probably gonna start doing their own transports, and then that cuts our transport team pretty much out, or down to nothing. Could they not be utilized as the power team then?
They're not gonna do that. It's too expensive for them.
Well, it's a private industry, and
It's
there's
private.
money to be made.
Well, you know, that
That there's many of them out there that do it and make a profit, so, and I've heard some
the
stuff.
only profit in ambulance business is in the convalescent ambulance business.
Well, that's basically transports is
That's
convalescent.
not transport, that's discharge. You know, that's taking people to dialysis centers and doctor's offices and nursing homes and those kind of.
Well, the owners of our hospital are already doing transport at their other hospitals, and that's what I was concerned with, is if they start doing it here, can we not use that transport team as the power
When,
team?
when they make that decision, we'll be on it, and we'll decide how to better utilize our own.
I mean, it's not happened yet, I just don't wanna be paying for some, you know.
Wait a minute, well, the thing you have to understand is we're not making those calls now. We don't make those calls.
The transport calls?
We
No,
make
no.
critical transport calls. If somebody's on a ventilator or somebody's having an acute MI, then we'll take them from the hospital here to the hospital in Nashville. We don't do discharge calls.
I realize that, but I'm talking about the critical care calls that,
Well, look at you have an amount to 38 calls this month.
and there's a team that's for that and that only. I mean, could that team not be the power team?
Well, they're also making 911 calls right now.
I mean, it's just another way of looking at it.
They made 140 or 50 calls this past month. There were only 38 of those that were.
I'm just looking at it different angles.
They're already more than a full-time team.
Is page 4 on these sheets that we have, which is.
That's not part of the budget.
No,
That was
that's
just
your
some-
dream sheet?
Actually, that wasn't even supposed to be on yours.
Oh, okay.
That was a list that I gave the mayor,
Oh.
so that he would know what's coming down the pike.
Yeah, I'd have put those sheets in when I was back in the Air Force, when I wanted the good assignment too.
All right, is there any questions or on the budget request?
I'll make a recommendation that we accept the mayor's, I'll make a motion, we accept the mayor's recommendation, and I'd like an asterisk in the notes on it that we look, make sure we look later on if we can get an ambulance.
Second.
You know, it's just like a reminder. You know, if I had these paper sheets, I could put it on.
Got a motion and we have a second. Everybody understand the motion on the floor?
You can put a note on it.
Hearing or seeing none, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Commissioner Sheffield, just for information, we won't give up on those ambulances because there's other sources of funding.
Yeah.
Just be patient with us.
We will, but it's something that I think, you know, that's critical, and it can, I know it won't slip y'all's mind, but it may slip ours later on.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, next is juvenile detention report and budget. Welcome.
Thank you. Okay. Report first.
Yes, please.
Which one is this? There.
Probably the most interesting item on our February report is that our population is going up, and we expect that trend to continue for March. But beyond that, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to ask or answer.
Why is it going up?
I have no idea. We've had
This time of year doesn't, I guess nice weather.
Just the last couple of months, we've had higher populations in our building than since we've moved in. And that's what everybody wants to know, and I have no answers for that one.
Is it unemployment or anything like that?
I can't say. I just know that it has been ridiculously high. Our population has been ridiculously high.
What's the max?
We have 64 beds available. And we've been in the 50s, mid-50s on a couple of days, so.
Because February, you just averaged the 31, but so you're saying March is going to be, this month is.
This is just kind of like the beginning.
You're just giving them a prep of
yes.
what will be on the March. And
So
what about
really
out of county? I mean, have you seen any change?
It's running about the same.
About the same. They were sort of down from what they were.
Well, I mean, in
year.
general, they are down from last year, but as far as this month,
This month. That's
right,
good.
it's about
That's
the same.
excellent. Excellent.
You have down there that date bills were mailed was the 13th.
Yes.
Is that later than normal?
It is later than normal. I've had some personnel changes, and so it just took me a minute to find it on in that person's computer and get it mailed out.
So as we ask the normal question, you don't feel that there's any problem with them?
I do not.
Okay.
It actually allowed us to even up on our out-of-county bills, and so that we don't have any, we're not waiting on any money, so we could look at it that way, say it looks good on paper.
Any questions on the report? Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the report.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion is carried.
William, can I have your paper copy?
Of my report?
I can print one.
Looks like on your budget, was about 51,000 increase over last year.
Yes, give or take. I did not, crunch those numbers, but when I had at one point, but I didn't write it down on this copy, and that's about what it was.
51,200.
And most all of that is in expected, increases in steps, et cetera, and the attendant changes benefits and the insurance costs are what they are depending on the mix of people with insurance. You might talk about 334. That went up just a little because that's the one agreement that we missed last year, and so she has to pay Stanley. We have it in this year's budget.
Do you remember, or do you need me to?
That was on the alarm system.
No.
When the CWC and the JDC were built, CWC had the bill was sent to them that for both facilities. We've now split it up, and the increase in this line item is for my part of that bill.
So I guess, Mayor, you're basically in agreement with that?
Yes, we are.
On 340, what do the medical services include?
The Care Here is our provider. They do physicals for the kids who are in our facility for 2 weeks or longer. They do MedPass 3 times a day, and they do sick call 3 times a day.
When you say 3 times a day, does the patient?
Well, like we kind of, the easiest way for me to explain how we handle medical with the kids is it's kind of like you would your own child. You know, generally medicines are given breakfast, lunch, dinner, bedtime. Then you'll have an oddball, medication in between. So they come and catch the majority of those normal MedPass times. We get breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then anything beyond dinner, like bedtime or whatever, then my employees will, my sergeants take care of that for us.
Only revenue you got listed here is just bed fees from other counties, I believe. Is that it?
That is it this year.
Yes, sir.
There are no state funds with this? Goodness gracious.
The only state fund would be if the state had,
If we contracted with them for bed fees. And although it's more than it is with the adult facilities, it's still quite a bit lower than what we charge the counties. It's still like in the 130s, and we charge 175 to the counties.
So where are they going?
Columbia. We actually just had, I organized, trying to get together a juvenile detention association for the state of Tennessee. And we held the first meeting at our facility this past month, and all sat down, did a lot of talking about policies and challenges, and I would say that 90% of the state beds are going to Columbia.
But back on the Care Here, it's MedPoint now. Is it like the rest of our, are you on something separate?
We're still with
okay.
Care Here.
But that is, because I remember a few years ago, and I finally become convinced that this was the way to go because it relieves a lot of liability from us on dispensing, having her people dispense the medication to these juveniles. And we've got, quote, qualified, certified people that's doing it.
Make the motion to approve.
have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries.
Anything else?
Lynn, do you have another copy of your budget?
You want everything. Do you need the 5-year and the revenue as well?
I'll just take the spreadsheet.
Because that, I actually do have. Oh, wait a minute.
Thank you.
So I don't need that from you. Thank you, though.
All right, next on the agenda is Sheriff's Department. Thank you, have a good day.
You don't want to take a break or anything before we get started? Seriously?
No, we're ready to get out of here.
We got 12 pages.
Would somebody give us a report on the UT girls game?
We're not doing her budget.
No.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, we're not doing y'all's budget tonight, right?
No, I'm talking, oh, we're not?
No.
No.
He knows you're not.
We're doing it last.
We just done her budget.
No, you're gonna schedule their budget
Yeah.
here.
Good, we'll pass that.
Okay.
down. That's Ms. Peggy. That's why I was asking, 'cause I don't know if we had to schedule.
No, we're not.
If I need to sit back, I will.
All right.
Okay.
I guess the first thing we got tonight is
Amendments.
amendment.
Up first, unless you want to do something else first.
Go ahead, let's do the amendment first.
Safest way to start.
I think that's the only thing we got on.
Okay. All right. First item up for bids is it's that time of year where we're taking all the donations that have come in for the entire year, and we're gonna do an amendment all at one time and kind of clear them all out at once. So, item number one is to recognize donations from all the revenue that's come in of just different things like the Memorial Garden, Explorers, Shop of the Sheriff, Operation Integrity. That's where people pay fees in and stuff like that. So total $5,097 on that. We're gonna break that out into $399 and $499, which is what those different things, the Memorial Garden, Explorers, Shop of the Sheriff, and Operation Integrity, pull money from. So I go back to their budget, their line items for their budget. It's basically money that's been donated into their program for the year. Item number two is selling materials, and these are things like where we've been selling our challenge coins for the 9/11 Memorial, the bricks for the 9/11 Memorial, copies of DVDs, stuff like that. And we're going to break those out into the $399, the $399, the $435 line items for office supplies and things of that nature. And the reason they're going into office supplies is that's where we're pulling things for like the DVDs and stuff like that they'll make where Philip Martin makes copies of stuff like loggers and stuff like that. So that money's basically going back into those line items. Third one is contributions by government agencies. That's where we did the cold case training last August. This is still some funds that have come in. They came in kind of after the class, but since we decided to do all the amendments at this part of the year, we're now down to that. So, so this was actually from last fall. So $2,125, and that was basically the registration fees for that class. And so the next one, which is number 4. Now sell recycled materials, and we're going to put the $2,390 of the $5,549 is going to go into the repair maintenance of the building on the jail side, and it's basically recycled metal and stuff that he's got. And then the 716 law enforcement equipment is probably from brass off the range that they cleaned up down through the years. So we recycled about $3,000 worth of brass off the range. And then I think there was a piece of equipment they recycled. That's where the 122 is for the food prep. Then number 5 is we're going to pull from the 187 sheriff's side overtime and put into a separate budget, which is the sex offender registry overtime for Andrew Knox, and then all the related benefit account items that go with that. And that goes into the next page where you see the 316 through the retirement side. Then I go to line item number 6, which I've been telling you guys about. This is coming up. I've looked through our budget with a fine-tooth comb. At this point, we're not going to be asking for our remaining balance to do any projects with this year. So I just felt like we're just going to ask for this money out of undesignated, and then when we get to the end of our budget year, we'll probably get it all back anyway. So instead of trying to wipe out all the little accounts that we've got, because we don't have any accounts that have a large amount of money in them left. And our people, they all understand that they're still getting the same amount again next year if they need it, so nobody's out trying to blow money right now. So I think that we're going to ask for $150,000 out of undesignated to go into gasoline, $200,000 out of the undesignated to go into the food side to pay for all the meals going on, since we're not using the kitchen right now. And then $55,000 for communications. Now, that's it from undesignated. That's all from there.
What's on communication? What's
it's everything. It's all the cell phones, all the internet service, telephone equipment, the whole 9 yards.
I'm just reason I asked because of the dispatch.
It will not be for that.
Okay.
No. And then we did, and that's it from undesignated. Then I did go back and find some other money I needed for prisoner transport, or where we go and pick up people. $10,000 we're going to pull out of other contracted services. So, yeah, what was that called?
Extraditions.
Extraditions, yeah.
And then, we're doing good on the repair and maintenance vehicle side, which is labor when we work on vehicles. So we're gonna move that into vehicle parts, and the parts seem to be going up on just about everything these days. So Mike Bailey asked me to move that over to that side. Okay, stop having a heart attack here. And then, last but not least, maintenance equipment. Those funds we were not gonna need for this year. We managed to buy what we were gonna use that for this year out of last year's budget before we got to the end of the year. So we wanna pull that over to repair and maintenance of the building as well. I think most of you guys came out to the open house. So a couple people took the tour. I think if everybody's seen kind of what we've done over there, put a lot of work in place. So I just wanna make sure that we can keep it up and keep it in good shape.
We've still got work to do,
Yeah.
but we'll get there.
And that's it for the general fund request. You mean go ahead and do the NARC fund, or you want to take this one first?
Go ahead and do the NARC fund.
NARC fund. Okay, and then last but not least is, out of the NARC fund, we're gonna move, $6,000 from the vehicle line item and move it into the in-service line item, because they've got some training they're gonna go take, some classes. And that's it. That's all I have for tonight.
You heard the request. Is there a motion, or is there any questions?
Well, I've got a comment.
Yes, sir.
Probably when this comes to budget, I'm gonna wanna see what you can pull out of some of these others, cause you're looking at, what, 400,000?
Yes, sir, I understand.
I mean, you know, talking about almost $500,000 on this, and I can understand gasoline and some of these others, food costs right now. But
I just figured at the end of the year, we're not gonna do what we did last year, where we used everything for vehicles. It's kinda gonna be a wash.
And there's not really any other places except salaries. There's not too many other places. We've looked, we've gone over it. There's not. We don't have anything in uniforms. We don't have anything.
so you're saying, what he said earlier was there's a lot of small funds that have some in there, not this much. But now you're saying there's really not
Well, I
anything
mean,
that you could pull
we
it
don't know
from.
exactly what we're gonna spend to the end of the year. If it's got a little bit left in there for like office supplies, then we're gonna need something between now and July 1 for office supplies. There's not really where we can come up with $300,000 to feed inmates and buy gasoline.
We did start getting tight about, the tail end of last year anyway, but then when we got done, there's still $600,000 left over.
See, the big thing with the inmates is we did our budget for food based on 600 inmates last year. We are today at 857 inmates, 3 meals a day. Plus, we didn't expect for the kitchen to be going down.
And weekenders.
Yeah, and then all the weekenders. So, there's a dramatic cost increase there. And then we also banked on it being an election year, figuring the president would try to keep gas down. Being an election year, it hadn't worked. So, yeah, so.
So you estimated last year you had 600,000, you're gonna turn back in, are you gonna turn back in 600,000 this time?
That's
Or
what
are you
we're
gonna-
planning on. I mean, it's, I think at the end of the budget year, when we get done, it'll be at least close.
So we've been letting everybody know for months that this is coming. It's here.
But it's just one of those things where, our departments, all the different departments, they're not out there trying to spend every last dollar they can get out of their budgets this year, afraid that they're not gonna get it in their line item again next year. We've gone ahead and discussed all that, so everybody knows that if they don't need it, don't spend it. So we have it for something else, so when the end of the year rolls around, this money can then go back into the general fund to replenish what we're asking for tonight. Team effort.
Tell me on communications, you were talking cell phones and all that. Now, well, I haven't found it, communications on here yet, but anyhow, what it was.
It's 55.
55?
Yes, sir.
No, I know that amount. I was looking on your department budget. Okay, and I'm saying, how, on something like cell phones, can we come out that far off? What, just explain it to me.
Yeah, I think originally what that ended up being was just the telephones, and they started doing pagers, and then got over into cell phones. And then on top of that, now we've got modems in the cars to download information and stuff like
Put
that.
laptops in all the cars.
Yeah, so as technology progresses, we're getting incredible deals on the stuff, but still it's such a volume, because every time the sheriff's office does it, since we're such a large department, when we do things, it does take project out, so.
Everything we do is big.
Yeah, but it's.
When it comes budget-wise.
But just, yeah.
Largest budget on the general fund side of the.
Yeah.
But this will cover us at the end of the year. We've just, after looking at the numbers, this ought to take care of us.
Thank you.
The contract services, 10,000, and prisoner transport,
Yes, sir.
10,000.
We are.
What's the other contract? Is that to where you're transferring the money from?
Oh, yeah. There was some,
From contracted services within the department, meaning that if we need to go out and contract with somebody to do something for us, we're just pulling the money out of those contracted services into.
Is that what it's coming
Yeah.
from? So a deputy will have to do
the prisoner transport?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
If the district attorney says go get them, we go get them.
And nobody else can do that?
We can contract it up. We can hire like a transport company to do that, but most of the time, it always costs us more. It's actually cheaper to send one of our officers than it is to pay somebody else.
Even though you're taking someone off the streets?
Well, most of the time, we pay them, they get overtime when they do it. Because we can't pull someone off the street to send them to Los Angeles.
Is there any more questions? Is there a recommendation on the budget transfers?
Mayor, have you looked at this? You agree with this budget?
This is the first time I've seen them. I mean,
Yeah.
I will agree that they need more money in gasoline and food.
Yeah.
And if they've got the right amount, I haven't computed that. But gasoline, I was just doing a little computing just here in my head. We've spent 601,000 through the date of this report. They got 98,000 left, which will get them through about one more month. Because at 601,000 on 9 months, that's $8,000 a month. So it's 70,000 a month. If they get through one more month with their 98,000, that they've still got. See, that gets them through April. So they've still got May and June. So they got 2 more months. 150,000 is about right for what they need for.
Well, it's higher now than it was last fall, too.
So
it keeps going up.
That's the only one I've
Yeah, it keeps
checked,
going
Commissioner P. But that looks about okay.
And unfortunately, that's what our job is. We drive around, we answer calls. We can't.
On the food, I mean, the number of inmates is up, substantially from last year. There's no question about that.
It's cost us a little more to do it.
Like we're doing
Like
it
we're
too,
doing
isn't
it
it?
in-house.
Now, I want to stop there. I do not agree with that. It is not costing more on food cost the way we're doing it.
Not according to Nancy.
We had, not according to Nancy, I understand, and I respectfully disagree. We had, he said 600 inmates was what our budget. I think it was about 650, but the lower the number you make, the worse it gets. At 650 projected inmates on the average, the food cost that's in the current budget is $3.23. What we're paying over there is $3, 99 cents a meal. Now, they still have their same labor in place. I'm just talking about straight up food cost.
So we're talking about $350,000 from undesignated.
Plus the communications undesignated, which is for another 55.
I'm ready to approve.
Got a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Got a second. All right. I heard some.
That wasn't my.
I'm
You're gonna hear my no in a minute, but you're not gonna hear my.
I'm open for discussion.
Well, there's some of the things, and the gasoline being one of them, that I can go along with. Of course, the budget transfers where we're taking the donations, we'll break this down. The communications is not one that, I'm gonna have to look at that one before I can vote for that. If it's grouped together, I'll have to say no on it. Maybe it'll give me some time between now and budget to put my head into it a little bit further, but
Well, Commissioner, let me answer this, would you like, where you can vote yes on some of these, would you like to, break it down a little bit, separate it, is that something that?
Well, the gasoline is something that I would go for. Then these where we're just transferring money into the accounts. You know, that's like the first for 4 for sure. Yeah.
Why don't we take 6, 7, and 8 individually, and the rest of them as a group? Can we do that? 6, 7, 8 are the 3 undesignated fund
Well,
balance.
right now, we got a motion on the floor for all of it, correct?
I'll withdraw.
Okay, well, who's second?
Second. I'll withdraw the second.
Okay, is there a motion on, that someone would like to make?
I'll make the motion that we take all the items except 6, 7, and 8, and we take them individually.
All right, there's a motion to do 6, 7, and all of them except for 6, 7, 8, then we'll do those individually. Is there a second?
Second.
And there's a second, okay? All right, any discussion?
Give me a second to read through these if you don't mind.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with that.
While he's reading through that, would it make sense to combine some of these? I mean, for example, accounts, you know, I don't know what that, I mean, for example, the repair and maintenance of the vehicles, why are we doing parts out of one account and then labor out of another account?
Because that's the way that it is,
It's
it's been
always
set
done.
up, and it's the
But-
way that, it's the way that,
different
it's the way
tax rates
Lisa
on it,
wants
too.
it.
You get a better,
It's an accounting issue.
better
Yeah.
accountability for the expenditures.
Okay.
I think it's because there's no markup on parts, those are directly passed through, and then you have a labor charge that's,
Okay.
at the facilities.
With parts, we don't pay taxes on.
Yeah.
Anything that we buy, we don't pay taxes on. So, all of the other items except
I'm ready
6,
whenever
7, and
y'all
8 are moved internally within the current budget.
All right, we got a motion and a second on the floor. Is there no other discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Tiffany Phillips?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Farley?
Yes. All right. We lack 6, 7, and 8. Is there a motion on 6, 7, and 8, or we want? Is there
Make a motion to approve 6.
Motion to approve 6. There's a second. All right, Mayor?
And go ahead. I mean, I have just had enough time to look at the food. I think his food, 200,000 is going to take that much to finish the year. They have not overestimated that.
Okay.
If he continues at 850 inmates, it's going to take that much.
Okay. All right, we've got a motion for number 6 and a second. Is there any other discussion on the motion on the floor?
Having the mayor said that, I'll go ahead and add the food line item
Second.
to that.
Second.
That's okay with the second.
Okay, motion and a second agrees. So we got a motion on the floor for 6 and 7 for gasoline and food. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Tiffany Phillips?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
No.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Farley?
Yes. All right, now we lack
I'd like to
number
look at some next
8.
month.
Is there a motion for number 8?
Can you tell us why you need that additional money?
That would be a Virgil. For one thing, I can tell you, with communication, if this is all of our cell phones, stuff like that, if we have to cut those all off, then everybody will have to drive back and forth to the SO.
I'm just asking why it's additional, why isn't it already in the budget?
Well, these are some items that come up, BlackBerries and also some iPads that Detective Division has used for investigations. And this is one of the items that we ran into during the year to be able to do a better investigations and to better get the emails and proper return as far as your service and everything. This was just something that came up in the mid-year that we ran into.
Can't you wait, Virgil? You've got 3 more months until a new budget year. Can't you wait?
Well, some of this came into the cost of the actual, not the items themselves, but the cost of the service, you know, from the provider and everything, where we're switching phones around. One of the things that we were doing is the phones that we have, we're also going to push to talk for patrol. Since we had another situation, scare anyway, of the tornadoes, you always got to have a backup system, and this is what we decided we needed to do at the time was to get these out. We're in the process of getting out probably 70 or 80 push-to-talk phones that basically there's a small charge on those, so much a piece, and we just looked at it as part of the service we've got to be available and ready the way the weather's been. And just some of these things, sometimes you just don't calculate the time, you try to prioritize them, but this is one that came up and hit us, that we said, well, you know, we need to look at this and go back and be ready for, you know, the next event that comes up, because everybody knows if your cell phones go down, landlines are down, you can at least depend on a lot of times push-to-talk in that situation.
What I'm questioning, and I think you probably answered it, but I'm not 100% sure, is that we're in the final quarter of our fiscal year, okay, and this, in my mind, could and should be justified with the new fiscal budget and not adjust this budget. So if all of that is true, this should have been looked at and prepared for last summer and not now.
Well, and I don't disagree with that. It's just that a lot of times with communications and other things we had going on as far as dispatch, technology that's available, changes in technology, some of these things sometimes you don't anticipate, Commissioner, and that may be a shortcoming on my fault in that sense, but at the same time, it's better to be prepared, you know, for these when they come up. You know, either way, it's kind of a wash in the end, even though it's coming up right now. Now, we can get you some additional numbers that underline it, dot the I's and cross the T's if you want. But I don't have them available right now. I didn't bring that with me.
We are addressing this in the budget too.
Yes. One simple question is the money that we're needing here, Virgil and Sheriff, is that for reoccurring monthly charges for the use of the equipment, or is it for actual purchase of additional capital equipment?
Well, some of it is, like I said, I would have to break it down, but it's a little bit of both. It's reoccurring. There's some that was unanticipated, but also there's some where the technology, we wanted to improve the technology. And this was just a course that we went to do it.
Well, the reason I was asking that, I mean, I'm just looking at your report here and looking at what you spent and what you still got left that's unencumbered. You really need about 30,000. If it was exactly reoccurring, you need about 30,000 plus, but you've got 55,000 here, so it may be some capital expenditures in your number as well. I cannot.
Well, that's what I was talking about on push. Go ahead, Joe.
I was just going to say there's another partial bill that's in the office now that hasn't been put in, and we took that figure, and by the time we added everything up, it was like 52 and change, so I just rounded it to 55. That's what I did.
Now, let me say, it's one of the other things that we did that's involved in this. We've taken out of donation. There's things that we've done with some laptops where we put some laptops in service for the Titans program. There probably was 75 laptops alone that have been put into patrol for use by them. So there's things that was involved in the communications of those for downloads and those type of things.
For the FTO program and the Titan program.
Is there any way we can find some money out of the budget elsewhere? That's the smallest item. And I'm just looking at, right now I'm looking at.
Wash. I mean, that's why I kind of did all this at once. You know,
maintenance and repair of equipment is at 43%, and we've only got a quarter of the year left, so theoretically it should be at 25%. Is there any money from there that we could, I mean, if we can knock that number down from 55,000 and we still have to get you some from undesignated funds, I'd just like to see if we could drop that number down a little bit, if it's possible, if there's any line items, if there's not, you know, if you've got something coming down the pipe that we can't do stuff like that.
Well, it's like we've got 46% left in unemployment compensation.
And the salary stuff I don't even look at, because, you know,
that's when we get into other stuff. When it comes to salaries are about 82% of our entire budget. Whenever we talk about everything else, 82% of our budget deals with just salaries.
I mean, if unemployment's something you can go into and you don't think there's going to be any.
Well, hopefully I don't want to, have anybody else go out on unemployment.
Oh, that's for the.
So.
There's not much in it. Yeah, what gets me is communication. What you're asking for is 42% of what the total budget was, and And that's why. And I know that that unassigned fund balance is not that sterling at the beginning of the year. You know, that's the other thing.
I no disrespect intended here at all, but normally when we have a department that needs to purchase something and it's going to be over their budget, they come to us and ask before they purchase it. And that's where I feel about this. I understand there are things that you've got to have, and I understand that. And like I said, there's no disrespect intended at all, but, you know, for me to be able to vote for this, you're going to have to dig it out of your other line items, you know, if that's what it means to get it.
That's fine. I mean, I can go back and I can re-pull all that out. Just at the end of the year, the ending fund balance won't be as much that we turn back in, so.
Well,
but that's fine.
And we can give you a better breakdown. I apologize for that. I just didn't expect to present it necessarily.
Well,
I'll give
on
them
top of,
thoroughly.
you know, 200,000
Yes,
on
sir.
food and another 150,000 for gasoline.
I just,
and then-
because I have to nickel and dime about 25, 30 accounts, and I didn't want to have to go through that sheet of amendments, so.
Well, let me ask this question then, with this monies that, you all wanna send a motion to budget approving the process, but the line items will be coming from, the line items they'll bring to y'all in budget? Is that something?
I can vote for it that way, otherwise, you're not gonna get a positive vote out of me on this one, so.
Is that, what's the will of the committee?
It would, now, if they can't get it all, if they have to have something from undesignated fund, you know, not 55,000, but say 15, and I don't know, I mean, they might not be able to pull it all. Is that allowing budget to handle that and then to go before the full committee, or is it we're just allowing them to move forward?
I mean, budget will make a recommendation, whether you agree with it or not. It'll still have to go to the full commission. You'll have another shot at it.
I just want to make sure we give them the leeway.
They're gonna see it 2 more times, and we're gonna see it 1 more time.
Even here, I mean, we talked about some of this is for capital equipment, but in the communication equipment line item, there's, out of a $43,500 budget, you still got $26,000. That, I guess, may be already projected to be spent, but you're suggesting that you're spending money in addition to that.
That's kind of what I was saying, though, is that I can nickel dime all these accounts, and I can come up with 55 grand. That's no problem. But the amendments are going to be a couple of pages, number one. So number two, at the end of the year, it's still going to be washed anyway. We're going to turn it in out of our ending fund balance.
And I also can see the need on the two-way, when it comes time as far as communication, in the event of another tornado.
Yeah.
I know how they worked when I had to deal with it that day on Good Friday. Thank God I had a two-way, because nothing else would get out.
But all of our departments have, you know, everybody knows in our departments not to go blow their ending fund balance. If they don't need anything, don't go blow it. And everybody has gotten used to that now. And it worked very well last year. You know, we ended up having quite a bit of money left over. And so, you know, it just ended up being a wash is the way you look at it. But I'd be more than happy to do whatever y'all want me to do.
What's the will of the committee? Is there a motion?
Maybe 10, 12.
I'll make a motion to send it to budget contingent that they can find some money to go along with that, not necessarily from the undesignated funds, but can include some undesignated funds. Is that
How much undesignated?
what? I don't know. I mean, that's the situation.
Can we leave it up to budget? $55,000 question.
What if we were to send this recommendation to the budget committee with a positive recommendation, and to determine the sheriff's department work with the budget committee to come up with what line items is coming out of it?
With no new money or
let budget determine funding.
Right.
Okay.
No money from undesignated to come from within the budget.
I'll make the motion that it comes from within the budget, and I'll forward it with that.
Okay. Is there a second to his motion?
I'll second.
And a second. All right, discussion. Hearing or seeing none, call roll.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Tiffany Phillips?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Farley?
Yes.
Don't hate me when you see the paper.
I want to give this kind of a little summary kind of report of what we've got going on down at the jail.
Yes, sir.
So this is a breakdown.
Yes, sir.
As of 4:41 this evening, we have 857 inmates at the jail. And if you remember, 956 is all we can, that's when we get 100%. But we've got numerous breakdowns here. I just wanted to present this to you. Plus, I also wanted to let you know.
Yes, sir.
On average, let's see, how does this go? We have 369 people in the jail taking mental health medication. We have 375 people in the jail that take medication, some sort of medication. They take a pill every day. Also, last year, we had observed suicidal people. We had 221 people that we had to watch and keep up with every 15 minutes while they were incarcerated and on suicide watch. Mental health observation, we had 748 people throughout the entire year. And then medical observation, we had 1,185 people throughout the entire year that we had to do medical observations on, meaning we've got to go around and check them every so often for whatever medical problem that they do have. This breaks it down. You have percentages of males, females, 83% males, 16% females. We have no juveniles. 67% of our inmates are white, 30% are black, and 2.10% are other. Our average age of an inmate in our jail is 32 years old. We have 3 right now on suicide watch. We have an average of 6 people, or there were 6 people this past weekend doing weekend time. So naturally their numbers aren't on here because they're out right now, but come Saturday or Friday night, you're gonna have weekenders come in, and sometimes we may have up to 15 people turn themselves in on a Friday night, and we don't release them till Sunday night. So, of course, we have 500 people in their sentence, 357 non-sentence right now. Holds, we got 193 people that have holds for other departments. So, just
the ones that you
know.
have on holds, can you back charge those departments that you're holding them for?
No.
If they're being extradited into another state or something like that, you can't?
No, they just have other charges other places. Yeah, I'm just breaking it down for you to let you know what you're responsible for. So that's it on that. The other thing that we have, and again, Mayor, I apologize because I did not get over to your office beforehand because we had a guy that had a heart attack today at the sheriff's office. Mike Bailey, we had to send him out. And so we've been dealing with that situation today. But this is a draft. There is
Michael behind?
Yeah, he's gonna come.
Yeah, good place.
So, and I'm just giving you this for you to take home and read right now. Leisurely time. But this is a draft. We had the University of Tennessee come in and do a staffing analysis on the jail. The final will be here Wednesday because he needed some more information. And so we'll have that final draft that I'll be giving out again to you all, Budget and Finance and Full Commission. But I just wanted to give you this draft, and you notice everything on it, it says draft, so it's not final stuff. But this guy came in, he spent probably about 8 weeks getting information going over our jail from the University of Tennessee, and it's just kind of preliminary what he's come up with.
The county services.
Yeah, this is CTAC. So we definitely wanted an outside person to tell us what. So I just wanted to give it to you. Any questions on it?
This something we read before we go to bed at night?
All right. Anything else?
We have the last thing up for bid tonight is 3 positions. If you remember last month, we had the 3 positions, and that's the reason why Sonya's been sitting here.
What about the report? Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve the sheriff's report.
We got a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor of the motion? Say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Last month, we talked about 3 positions, about changing the salaries and the way that the budget process was done last year, where normally I would just come and let you know that it's in my budget and I can afford it and I'm promoting someone or doing something. But the way that they did the budget last year locked us into where I have to let you know and y'all have to vote on it and to change the salary, even though we've already changed the position and what they're already doing. The way that we did the budget last year, y'all have to change the salary instead of just me doing it. So the first one was changing a warrants corporal to a warrant sergeant because he's doing the job of a sergeant. And so we have the job titles, and Sonya's here. Commissioner, you asked for her to be here this time. So she's here. I've discussed it with her. We would like for her to come up.
Sonya, I'd love for you to come up. I'm going to try to recall my concern, and I don't think I was alone on this committee, that we were promoting a person and not the position. And that's, to me, is not according to any management principle that I've ever been taught, and I've been around a long, long time. As a matter of fact, in the private sector, it would not be done, could not be done. Somebody says, I'm going to quit, I'll give you more money if you don't. It's just not done. And what we were asking, or what I was asking, and I think it was we, you mentioned that she was being promoted, or this person was being promoted, and we were asking about what's the new job duties and those types of questions. And I think the response was that you would bring back the new job responsibilities compared to the old job responsibilities and let us take a look at that. And also ask our HR director if she has had the opportunity to look at that and to give us some guidance as it relates to, is it a promotion? And if it is a promotion, does the job description justify that promotion? I think in a nutshell, that's what I remember. Is anybody?
I believe that's what.
I think that was the most controversial one of the 3.
And talking with Sonya, come to find out, whenever I took this over there to let her know, the workhouse has a person that does what this person does, and they are a pay grade 7, where our person is only a pay grade 4. So we found that out. Didn't even know that the workhouse had a TAC officer, because our TAC officer works in our communications division to deal with NCIC, the FBI, and all that. And then once talking to her, she's like, well, hold on. And we look and go ahead.
Right. I think what may have happened just in my research after he explained to me, and we are talking about the TAC officer, correct? Okay. The person that was in that role prior was Bill King, and he left some 4 or 5 years ago. And the way the TAC is set up is you have one person that is the agency coordinator, but then you have an alternate. You're supposed to have an alternate, so in their absence, because if you have somebody that's not going to be present for a 24-hour shift, you either have to find someone from an outside agency to come in and do that because it's a mandatory service that you have. And it's with the NCIC, it's got the ties, all the things that are involved in that, and is very secure information. They don't just let anybody have access. I have worked in the past with the TBI. Ginger Irons is who I worked with when we were doing the Correctional Work Center items, and she is our local rep. She is the one who actually comes in and does the audits for these type services. So I was aware of what he was speaking of whenever he contacted me. So I think where it happened is in the transition from Mr. King left and Ms. Morton took over, that maybe that was something that was missed along the way. But we do have a TAC coordinator and an alternate at the Correctional Work Center. I will say that the alternate is a pay grade 4 and the TAC officer is a pay grade 7 because that person really only does it in that employee's absence for vacation, sickness, something of that nature. I contacted TBI to talk to the TAC coordinator rep, and that is Kenneth Blue, and he oversees all of the TAC operations, and just ask him about the training that was involved. And there's 4 days a year required mandatory training of these individuals to keep them up to par on the things that actually take place. And you know, the qualifications, I think the sheriff's office did, if I'm understanding this format that you gave me, this was the prior job description of Ms. Morton, but this is the new, which is the TAC agency coordinator job description, the minimum qualifications, and I compared that to what the TBI is requiring, and that's right in line with what they're requiring.
What was the job title in the old job description?
Communications Officer 1, and so that is a pay grade 4.
Okay, so I guess what we're saying is this person has been in the wrong classification for a good long while.
Correct. It's a reclassification of the promotion.
It's, yeah, the person either was missed during the whenever the other individual left, somehow it was either missed and
somebody else got a promotion.
And that person did not, but that person has been doing the role of this job responsibility. Now, I will recommend that they find an alternate for this person to do successor training and that it stay, you know, in the pay grade 4 where you're at now, the communications officer, because that is in line with what they're doing.
She does have an alternate.
What was the money cost for?
I think the rest of the budget year, it was what, about.
Well, it was, for the rest of the budget year, $2,000 to $3,000, not much.
Yeah, the money on all this is very, very little.
Very little.
Yeah.
All right. We got a job description here. I guess we want to take them all at one time. Is that what the committee wants to do?
I'd rather take them.
Take them all?
No, take them separate.
Take it separate? Okay.
This was the one, and Matt was right, this was the one that was causing most of the discussion, and I don't know how to say this, but I wasn't getting the answers that I wanted, and that's the reason that we delayed it. I've got all the answers that I want, and I'm satisfied.
Well, if I recall correctly, this is the only one, I know this is the only one I asked to come back. I thought we had decided we were gonna wait to the end of the budget year and the new budget year to reconcile the other two. Maybe I don't, that was my understanding.
I thought it was all of them.
Yeah, it was all of them. Y'all just wanted me to bring back the job descriptions.
Right.
And then this was
I
the
thought it was all
major
of them.
one that was hang up because of,
This
I don't
one-
know HR. I'm learning it, but I don't know, you know, I just know that this wasn't right, and so we're just trying to.
This one was the one that was causing me heartburn, and I know it needed to be done because of an urgent retention situation. So, and I'm happy, I'm satisfied. So I'd rather take this one and then we can talk about the other one.
Well, we know the outcome of this one here. Is there a motion?
Can we have the motion from last month read, just to make sure that we're in line with what we said last month before we make a motion?
Okay.
One of your motions was Commissioner Young moved, seconded by Commissioner J. Phillips, to approve the pay grade changes for positions number 2000 and number 1427C. But this was subsequently rescinded.
Yeah, that's where we.
Yeah. That was on the other two, and then.
Yeah.
And then we just rescinded everything and wanted to come back, if I recall right.
That's the last motion on this.
That's the way I understood it, it was all coming back. Well, I remember, I could be wrong.
Because I didn't take it forward, didn't take any other piece forward, we brought it, it's all back, we got all the stuff there.
Just wanted to make sure.
I don't mean to say this is the way I want it, but that's the way I would prefer it. It's just for us to take this one. This was the one that, this was the only one that I could really recall. The other ones that we're probably gonna have to discuss again.
Okay, Commissioner P advised he wanted to pursue the pay grade increase for position 1445 and wanted to see a job description by the next meeting. Additionally, Commissioner Jeff Phillips requested Sonia Stevenson be at the next meeting as well for input. Mayor Burgess advised the finance director will be available to explain the positions. Commissioner Schaefer advised he also wanted a job description for position number 2000. And then he went on to a line item report.
What's the will of the committee?
We've discussed this one. I'd like to just move on this one, then we can discuss the other one.
Okay, we got a motion on this one. Is there a second?
I didn't make a motion, but I will.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Move to approve.
A second.
All right, there's a motion and a second on this one here. The check.
Position 1445.
The TAC officer position.
TAC officer.
Total cost and benefits for a year, roughly.
Additional or?
Yeah, well, what it'll be next year versus.
Next year would be.
It'd be an additional 15,000, including all the benefits. to go along with it.
Okay, that's good. I mean,
roughly.
Yeah,
That's roughly.
yeah, that's just what I'm trying to figure
For
out.
the rest of this year, how much is it?
It's a couple grand.
For all three of them, it's $6,000.
I don't know what steps.
It would be a one
this
based
one
on
would
where
be
she's
about
at,
$10,000.
pay grade 7, step 1.
Okay.
All right, we got a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any other discussion? Hearing or seeing none, call the roll.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
No.
Commissioner Jeff Phillips?
Aye.
Commissioner Tiffany Phillips?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Farley?
Yes. All right, the next one.
I ain't going to.
Let's do the sergeant.
Warrants.
I'd like to make a motion on these that we don't look at this pay increase for these until the new budget year, and I'll make it in the form of a motion.
We got a motion, do we have a second? Do we have a second?
I'll second it for discussion.
Okay, we got a motion and we got a second, all right, discussion.
Are you saying that you want the Public Safety Committee to approve it for July 1st?
What I'm saying is, we don't need to go in our budget in the middle of the year, and that's what we're doing. And that's what we're doing on all three of these. And, you know, we've set a budget. Yes, we've made some changes. Sometimes they're unexpected, but, you know, this is a budget. We want to start living with what budgets we're putting out there. I don't like putting out tax increases for our citizens. And that's what this is going to mean if we keep on doing this. And I'm not going to do it.
I'm not gonna disagree with you, but just present another side. This one, to me, was an oversight and should have been done a long time ago.
That one, and I don't disagree with that.
Correcting that. So I would disagree with what you just said based upon that. Now, the other two, it could be right on, and I'd like to refresh my memory in the discussion end of it as to why we're looking at
The other
something.
two, the warrants corporal to sergeant is because we don't have a sergeant. We had to move that sergeant out of there. And so therefore you have a void. You have a lieutenant and you have a corporal. This corporal is now acting as a sergeant. He's got all the responsibilities as the sergeant. And so therefore, you know, my proposal is to pay him for what he's doing, an honest day's work for an honest day's pay. He's got these added responsibilities to him, and so I think anybody would want to be paid if they're having added responsibilities and added liability to them in their job. And so therefore, that's why my proposal is to move him from a corporal's pay grade, which is a pay grade 6, to a sergeant's pay grade, which is the former position he held. And then we moved him back, whenever I came in office, we moved this gentleman back one. And now, because of different things, and he's now doing his old job and performing those duties, is the reason why I'd like to move him back to where he was at.
If there's an opening in a position, and undoubtedly there is, and we move this person in this position, does this department have to come back to us for that promotion?
I'm sorry, restate that question.
I don't know if I can.
If there's an opening, they have to, can they move a person into the open position?
You've got a sergeant position that's vacant. I don't know why, but there is. And he's promoted someone into that position. Does he have to come back to us to do that?
I don't.
And if the answer is no, why is he here?
Well, I think
the reason why, basically, we're a paramilitary organization. Normally, just like last year after I came in office and we changed several positions, we had it within the budget. And so under the old budget and the way that it's always been done in the past was I just came in and I notified you, hey, I've promoted someone and we've got it in our budget and we can afford it without needing new money. Last year, the way that the budget was set up, they did categories. Corporals are all the corporals in the sheriff's office side of the budget. Let's say that there's 7. There's a lot more, but let's say that there's 7. All 7 have a line item. If you look here on the budget that y'all just looked at, corporals have a whole line item. And so therefore, if I am moving a deputy up into the corporal position, naturally my budget can't do that because there's a difference in salary. There's roughly about $1,500 a year difference between pay grade 5 and a pay grade 6 and a pay grade 7. So under the way that we did this budget last year, which will be the first and last year we do that, is that's the way it is. And so therefore this time I have to come and ask.
Yeah,
but I can still promote from within. I can make him a brigadier general, and then it comes back to y'all to pay him.
Each position is assigned, each position number, maybe to make it a little simpler, each position number is assigned to a role, okay? So he's got so many position numbers that are a sergeant, so many position numbers that are a corporal, so many that are a sergeant. What's happened is he's used all of his sergeant position numbers, and he's got a corporal that he wants to make a sergeant, so he's technically taking a corporal's position and promoting it to a sergeant's level.
So I'll have one less corporal.
Well, then why don't we agree with Mr. P and said that has to be done in the next budget year because this budget year is already set. I understood that you've got a sergeant that left and you got a position that's open.
No.
And that's not what you just said.
No.
Okay.
One thing that I would like.
What happened to that sergeant position?
We needed him over in patrol, so we had to move him out and move him over to patrol.
They took the
We needed him
sergeant's
somewhere else.
position
We had to
to a
rob Peter to pay Paul. And so now we gotta pay Peter back.
One thing that I would like to see is that role you're talking about. And the city of Murfreesboro does it in their budget. If you go look and see it, they have an HR page attached to each department's budget that says we have 1 sheriff, we have 3
That's the
chief
way they did the
deputies,
budget.
and it would be nice to be able to see those positions so next year we don't get to, because we don't see it on the budget. We approve how many positions of what positions, so we don't necessarily.
That's why they did it in categories.
Yeah,
There's
that's
like-
why we did it.
But you just see a whole dollar amount. You don't see X number of positions. And had we seen,
I think we did that in the actual budget.
If
She
we
can
saw-
break it out for you.
We-
Lisa has it on the budget.
We do it this way for all the constitutional officers. They tell us how many positions at each level they have available to place people into. That's exactly what has been done for all of the other constitutional officers. It's the first time it's been done to the sheriff's office this way, but it's consistent with what we're doing with the other constitutional officers.
But they're not paramilitary organizations.
Let me see if I can state what Commissioner P is saying so we can think along the same lines. He's saying your budget's already set. You've had those certain amount of numbers. You've got to stick with it till the end of the year and present your case the first of next year. Is that right?
Exactly.
Okay. And what's wrong with that?
Well, it's because they've already been promoted, and so therefore there's a liability there. But these people are already doing the job, and so therefore they're having to take up, just like the next position we talked about it. If I pull her back and send her back to where she's at, then we're not going to have anybody on the docks shipping or receiving anything because we had to put that person in booking because of all the different lawsuits that we've had come out of booking, and we have to have someone there because we've already paid out over $200-something thousand in lawsuits because of the deficiencies within booking.
So, yeah, it's rob Peter to pay Paul, but Peter still's gotta be paid back. We've gotta have somebody there. We've gotta have somebody doing the job.
But Sheriff, somewhere along the line, the numbers of people in each of those positions that you budget has become skewed, okay? And you keep saying that they've already done that. Somehow, some way, you've already done that. And you're the one, you and your department are the one who are not living up to the budget.
Because I still have a job to do, and I've got to get the job done. And so I have to do whatever means to get the job done. And so therefore, I've taken someone to get the job done. It's either that or I don't do the job. So then therefore, then the county has a bigger liability because we're not getting the job done, and then we get sued for that.
The sergeant that is no longer in that position that you put on patrol someplace, should he be a sergeant?
Yes.
Well, how can that position have been
Because
approved?
I've absorbed one position from the narcotics, of the 6 narcotics positions, I absorbed a sergeant. So I've taken one away, and so I had to fill that over here because we can't afford it in the narcotics fund. That's a whole different discussion we've got to talk about in our budget. We've got $480-something in positions we can't afford to fund, but yet we're funding those out of the narcotics fund. So I absorbed that person. We did away with that position. That guy is gone. And so therefore I had to move someone within my budget to fill that void. And that's where we've gotten to. And right now, with the narcotics fund and all that, I've got 5 more positions. They are corporal positions. I only got 5 corporals on patrol, or SRO positions. We've got to start figuring out a way to fill those voids because, you know, I've got to pull from somewhere, and I've got a job to do, and I've got to keep that job going, and so I've got to figure out a way to get the job done. And if it is move this guy up into this position because we've got this job to do, then we'll do it. But I had to get rid of a position number. We got rid of a total position because we could not afford it. So we couldn't afford $30-something thousand, but we can afford, you know, within our own budget, the money's already there to pay this guy $1,500 over the next few months.
I'm going to shut up. I'm probably not the sharpest guy to ever sit in this chair, but I'm also not the dumbest guy to ever sit in this chair. And I'm thinking somewhere along the line, you've got to be forward-thinking enough to forecast these things.
Oh, I'm forward-thinking enough into going, we've got a big problem. I notified this body last year, you weren't on this body, whenever we come to the 6 positions that we've got to find a way to absorb. I've taken the initiative to absorb one in my budget, hopefully showing the goodwill towards the commission. Hey, I've absorbed one, now I'm going to need that. It's exactly what the mayor wanted us to do last year, and that's what the will of the committee was last year when we came to them.
The position that was absorbed, what corporal, sergeant?
It was a sergeant.
Then we should have a sergeant position open.
No,
I just can't.
We don't have one in our budget that's open. We had one that was funded through somewhere else. It was funded by the narcotics fund that this guy was in. Well, we had the opening, and so we moved and we did away with a sergeant's position. So now I've got to, I have one less employee at the sheriff's office.
You moved this sergeant position into patrol, you said?
Yes.
Yeah. That's not narcotics.
No, because what I did is I moved one guy from out of the patrol side into the narcotics. So he went over here, the person's still there, but the position number is gone. We have technically one less person. We had one person leave, and so we decided, okay, instead of filling that, we'll absorb it. And then we'll backfill it with a corporal. We'll move someone up and fill that position. Instead of going out and me hiring and filling that sergeant's position, which in turn I couldn't pay for. I knew we couldn't pay for it. We can't pay for it in our narcotics fund.
So really we should do it with the corporal position and have that.
That's what we're doing. We're moving the corporal up to a sergeant, and there's not going to be a corporal. We're not going to backfill that.
Well, we just gotten this book here that none of us have had time to read, that I'm sure.
That's on the jail side. That's not the sheriff's
office. This is just the jail side?
That's just the jail side.
But in any event.
That's a totally different budget.
This is extraordinarily complex. There are many, many, many moving pieces that we haven't even talked about that have taken place. And I'm sure I'm going to have just loads of fun with this budget that we're going to start discussing here in a few days. I really don't have enough information about this to tell you what I agree or disagree with what he's saying here. I understand the problem that's been created, but it's a lot more complex, I believe, than we can solve here at this level without a huge amount of more additional effort.
We've got the position number. We sit here all night until we figure it out. I mean, it is what it is, and it's not going to change between today or next month, except these people are doing the job, and they're not getting paid to do the job.
How long have they been doing this? Here it is, March.
They've been doing it now for about a month, because last month.
But what happened for the first 7 or 8 months of the year that?
We had other people doing those jobs. The other two positions, we had other people doing it. I had to move a corporal from the receiving to booking, and then we had a sergeant here, but then we got rid of that sergeant.
If y'all don't mind me interjecting something here, I feel like the sheriff's saying, I mean, he knows what his job is and what he needs, and, you know, to me, the narcotics division is very important. And the funding that we've had, the revenues coming into that, we don't have them now, or they've been spent somewhere else. So we'll find that out, as the mayor is saying, as we dig into this, and it's part of both. But I don't personally feel like we need to let this narcotics division get smaller. If you look at the people that are incarcerated out there, they're in there because of drugs. Okay, what percent? 90% is drug use. And what are we going to do? We're going to cut narcotics divisions out, which is trying to enforce our drug laws and prevent that. I don't think so. Now, how we're going to fund that, I don't know, but that's a question for our new budget. That's the frustration I've got, is when you promote somebody, you know, if I was going to promote somebody in the middle of the year, and you can, like you said, you can make him brigadier general if you want to, and give him the stars if you got the money to pay for the stars put there. But what I would do, personally, is I would say, okay, I'll give you this promotion, you'll be acting this, but I won't have the money possibly until the new year, and then it'd be continued upon our budget committee and the commission approving that position at that money.
And I agree with what you're saying. The only thing, the reason why I'm doing this the way I'm doing it is because the county, from the sheriff's office, employees about 8 years ago got sued because they were given a promotion, and then the employees came back and wanted their back pay because of some different things, and then the county had to pay for the lawsuit and then pay them their back pay.
Well, that's my whole point about on the front end. I mean, if you're offering somebody to pick up this job where that sergeant left there, just say, okay, you can do that, but it's going to be contingent upon X and X happening. If that doesn't happen, you know, you're going to have to be satisfied with doing your old duties at the old pay. I mean, that's going to have to be on the front end for your liability and our liability.
Does that protect us in liability, saying promoting somebody to acting position until the funding?
We've got funds though.
I'm just.
I would not encourage that. I would not encourage putting somebody in the role and giving them this. I would not encourage that.
And I'm not encouraging that either. I'm just saying if you had to do that and you didn't have any choice, you know, that would be the only way that I would do it. But during the middle of the budget year, I don't feel like you need to do that.
And there is a stipulation, and I mean, I'm just thinking out all the way around based on what everybody's saying, and I don't know if you guys put this in yours or not, but one of the catch-all phrases, and we do this to kind of protect ourselves some, is perform other related duties as required. And the reason why is because sometimes you catch yourself in these type situations where you don't really, you know, if you look at all the way around at all the pieces, that's one of the ways. But to give somebody the promotion and the full-time extra responsibilities and tell them they got the promotion
this person,
without the pay,
this person that, in essence, you're saying has been promoted, was a corporal, and now they're a sergeant, you say, right? And so the corporal position is not going to be filled. So you're going to be without that. Correct. Be without that position. So we've created an additional sergeant position in a patrol, and we've eliminated corporal's position where? In patrol?
And no, in criminal, or civil warrants. Basically, we had, let's say we had 5 people in civil warrants. We moved one out. Now we've got 4. We're gonna move those people up, and we're still gonna have 4.
So next year, when you're preparing your budget for this next fiscal year, you're not going to ask for an additional person because of what you're doing right now?
No, not in that division, no.
You'll just have.
We'll just have 4
Just
people.
have a sergeant instead of a corporal?
Correct.
It makes me a little bit nervous to say that we've created a higher rated position somewhere and moved someone into it. And now we're having to create another higher rated position down here. So we've got more higher rated positions than what we originally planned for in our budget. And I think that's what we're talking about right now. But
And with our criminal warrants division, which has roughly a few more people, but they have just a lieutenant and a sergeant. They don't have a corporal. And so basically what I'm doing is I'm setting the civil warrants division up as the same structure as the criminal warrants division. So I'm just structuring them the exact same because they do a similar function with warrants, but they're different types of warrants, but they're separate.
there's some issues that I've got. And one of the issues is just that this is a county employee and we want to treat that county employee fairly. If they're doing the job and deserve that pay, then, and there's no other alternative. I mean, that person has to be done. There's part of me that says we need to do right by that person that's doing that job. And the way you've explained it, there is no other alternative. I mean, someone has to do that job, and it is a sergeant's position. I think, to me, the part that I don't understand, maybe the way that I should, is that you took that sergeant and put him into a position that could have been a corporal's position, correct?
It's gonna depend on how many people
Patrol.
Patrol.
Yeah.
No,
Could
I
it have been a
moved,
corporal's?
no. It was a void left over in patrol. A sergeant's position was open in patrol. And so we had to move, because we had to move a sergeant's position over into narcotics because we did away with that sergeant's position. Or basically, you could say we moved the sergeant's position from civil warrants over to narcotics because we did away with that position.
I think the narcotics, is that funded, the narcotics division, is it funded through your drug fund?
Yes.
Okay, I think I understand what he's saying now. It took me a minute. He's saying because they didn't have the funding in the drug fund to continue to fund these positions, when they had a position vacated, they didn't have the money to fund it. So he took that sergeant's position from patrol and put it into their narcotics division. But he still needed a sergeant in patrol, so he took the sergeant from civil process and moved it to patrol.
But we didn't do that at the budget
Time.
creation.
Right, I understand what you're saying. I'm
The
just
problem
not.
existed from the beginning.
The problem
Supposedly the way he's described.
The problem has actually existed for the past 10 years with these unfunded, or these funded narcotics positions. It never should have been done this way. I mean, really and truly, you should never fund positions out of your narcotics fund. It shouldn't happen. Because then you get to the point where we are now, and so we're having to eliminate. We could eliminate, and I don't want to, all 5 of them, but then we no longer have a narcotics division. And that's one thing we're looking at. And so we're trying to figure out ways of moving positions around and still keeping those guys there. And so we've had to do away with a complete position number. So we shifted some positions around, and now we're wanting to move one person up.
How many people, when he was a corporal, was he supervising, and how many people is he supervising now as a sergeant?
He's still got 4 under him.
Still got 4. So he's supervising the same one?
You said there were only 4. He's not one of the 4?
No, there's 4 more under him.
Okay.
And then but see, they've got evictions he's got to go to. He's got a schedule now because the sergeant's not there to schedule evictions. He's got to keep up with people doing other things. When it comes to the civil process, you've got to deal with the civil court system. You've got to go take people's property from them. And so therefore, we're one person down in that, and he's got to pick that up.
Could the lieutenant do that until the budget time?
The
or you
lieutenant's
could-
got his job duties too.
Do they-
Everybody's got a job function. So there's some function that's not gonna be done.
All right, we got a motion on the floor and we can do the second.
What's the motion?
Did you read the motion?
Don't look at any pay increase until the new budget on these two positions? Or does that apply to all three positions or
No,
just
No,
these two?
we already approved one.
So one of them is a corporal going to sergeant and the other one was, refresh my memory.
That was the position where we had to move the corporal from the warehouse in detention to booking.
Do it.
And so we took a person that's actually on the sheriff's office side that dealt with equipment and supplies. She was what was she? She was a supply sergeant in the military. So she had experience doing what we needed done, so we moved her. She's still, we combined one position. And so you have a pay grade 4 and a pay grade 6, and we're just wanting to, instead of trying to get a whole nother position, we're gonna combine it and make it one and just pay it a pay grade 7, a sergeant's salary.
Just want to clarify one thing, there's no new money, that you're gonna come with the existing.
Yeah, this will come out of our existing budget.
Come out of budget, I just
The
wanna
only
make
reason
sure
it
that
says
was.
is, the reason we got here was because normally I could be able to do this. And then I did it, and then Joe and them, and Lisa and them caught it, going, hold, the way we did the budget, you can't do that. You've gotta go ask for permission. I was like, well, we've already done it.
You'll have to come back with a budget amendment for this specific.
Yes.
If we should surpass these, we would have to have a budget amendment and approve it that way, or would this?
He's saying he's got enough money in the existing budget to pay this.
Yeah.
But if we approve these position rearrangements, that will mean more new money next budget period.
Yes, yes.
What happens?
That's in essence what you're doing.
The next constitutional officer that has a situation like this.
I'm talking about, but if we approve these rearrangements, then, and we leave those positions and make no other changes, that will still increase his total budget appropriation required for next year.
Yes, sir, that's correct, and I do agree with that, but that's what we were asking to do anyway, bring it back, major pitch
That's
for
right.
next year.
Understand.
So, if he did that and we approved it next year, we'd be right back there.
Sure.
So really what we're talking about is 3 months worth of salary or 4 months worth of salary, whatever the case may be.
And you said all three positions was $6,000 total.
And we've got that
And
in
the
our
TAC
salary.
officers, 2,000 plus of that.
All right, does everybody understand the motion on the floor?
Probably per annum, it's a $24,000 increase in budget.
Next year.
So in essence, if we were to approve this, then we're almost agreeing to increase the budget, your budget by $24,000 next year. Unless there was enough, you have enough in that budget right now to cover that whole process.
Well, during the year, you have people that, you have unfilled positions that kind of go on, which you're aware of, I'm sure. You know, you'll have gaps in employment and all that, and those monies tend to end up to a sizable amount by the end of the, 70, 80 grand by the end of the year for turnover.
So even with the lost positions that we've talked about, you're gonna come back with a $24,000 budget increase next year. Is that what you guys are gonna do?
We will be planning for that, yes, sir.
Okay.
But we still do, well, no, I think there's an automatic turnover ratio that's in there, that's included in the budget.
Whatever positions we put in the budget have to be appropriated.
But they have to be
We
appropriate.
have to appropriate revenue, whether we think we're going to spend all the revenue or not. We have to appropriate 100% of the computation on what those budget items require.
The lady
Less
that was in the,
2.5%.
was she in the jail side or the?
Jail side.
Jail side. So, because you're combining these two and making it one job, are you eliminating that position, or what are you doing with that one?
Yeah, well, no, because we moved this one to booking.
Okay, so when this person left, you moved that position to booking, and then this person assumed the roles of both of these jobs? Okay.
All right, everybody, would you read the motion again?
Don't look at any pay increase until the new budget on these two positions.
All right, we got the motion, we got a second. Hearing no other comments?
I'd like to make a comment. I don't see how we're not gonna do it next year, how we're not gonna be able to do it next year. I mean, we can't have somebody doing a sergeant's position and not paying them that. Now, that might be, sheriff moving somebody else into that position, another position from somewhere else, but I don't know. I mean, this issue was created because we nixed a position in narcotics, and he decided to fill it with somebody else within. So, I mean, I think, and we're only talking about $6,000 this year. So, if we're gonna do it next year, the money's in the budget. I feel like we might as well go ahead and do it. But if we're not ready to make that decision, then I understand that too.
All right. Call roll.
Commissioner Gooch,
No.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Phillips,
I'm not real sure, but I'm gonna say no.
Commissioner Tiffany Phillips,
No.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Yes.
Commissioner Young,
No.
Commissioner Farley,
No.
5-2.
So we're back to square one.
I make a motion to approve the positions as requested.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Second. All right. All right. Open up discussion.
How can there be?
I'm afraid to. All right, we've already had all the discussion, so call the roll.
There's no other alternative,
We've done discussed it, so.
Well, I guess you could approve one and not the other if you're gonna get.
Commissioner Gooch,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
No.
Commissioner Jeff Phillips, Commissioner Tiffany Phillips,
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer,
No.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner Farley,
Yes.
5-2.
All right.
That's all I got.
Other than the commendations.
Oh, yeah, the commendations. And we had a gentleman, yesterday, you don't have the commendations, we'll have them voted up with you next month. But, went to a house, guy had a heart attack and was unresponsive. And with the, with his AED and his, response time, he was able to bring this guy back. So you'll be getting that next month. He was able to save this man's life. So that's coming next month, but I just wanted to let you all know.
Thank you for coming, Sonia. Also, I want to recognize, I know on the D&J website today, the cold case is going to solve another one.
Yes.
Lieutenant Sharp and Sergeant Goodman.
Yes, sir.
That's good. I know back a long time ago, that cold case unit was put together and they're still performing very well.
That is the 7th one, or 8th one they have solved, I believe. The General Detective solved one, but 8 altogether cold cases that have been solved, murders, so. Thank you.
All right. Where was it?
We need to set your.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do have something else.
Yeah, we need to set the.
No, he didn't set it solved.
Sorry. Need to set a date for y'all's budget. How long y'all think y'all may need, Mayor and Sheriff?
2 or 3 weeks.
Just do it at our next meeting.
I will ask to do it in the other room because I know that lots of people want to come, so.
I just asked.
You gonna stack the courtroom? Stack the courtroom?
We have lots of employees that have been very interested throughout this process.
I have a lot of arguments.
Yes.
A lot of arguments. I don't want a bunch of arguments up here.
Believe me, I've headed off as much as I can. We've gone through a lot of things in our budget. Substantial increases naturally on gas and food. We know we're gonna have those.
We do one on the 23rd, or a regular meeting on the 23rd, and then
I know last year we
the
just had a
30th,
special
had
meeting.
one on the 30th on the special meeting.
Well, on the
Between
20th.
two? separate ones, just 2 Mondays in a row?
Is that gonna be enough time for budget committee? We
Yeah.
wait
Is that
till
like
the 30th?
Well, I'm not gonna be able to
Budget
be here
ends-
the 23rd.
Is that not a regular meeting?
I think it is.
23rd.
Yeah. Budget doesn't start till,
We don't have any
early May,
budgets on the.
doesn't start till
If
May.
you're not gonna be here for that, that's a regular meeting, so.
The 30th?
Yeah, 30.
No, the 23rd is a regular meeting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
But he won't be here for that, that's
I
what
won't be here, Mr. Vice Chairman, I will not be here the 23rd, so. And
What's on the 30th?
Sure.
we could have one on the 30th.
Yeah. let's do it.
That one actually won't work for me, because that's my wedding anniversary.
Oh.
Oh, wait a minute.
So remember, she's pregnant.
Yeah.
Oh, is that?
Yeah. We're gonna have a little. Not the year to be messing around. Yes. And actually, I'll be out of town. Actually, that's what it is. I'll be out of town, because I'm celebrating my wedding anniversary the day before, because I'll be in Colorado for school. So I won't be here that whole week.
The week of the 30th or the 23rd?
The week, the 30th through the 4th.
Well, what about April the 19th?
I'll be out of town.
Commission?
I'll be out of town that whole week.
On the 16th?
I'll be out of town that whole week.
What about the 16th?
I'm good.
We can,
The 16th?
yeah, I won't be here.
No, I won't either. I won't either.
You don't want to be here for it. It's boring. It's just budget stuff.
Not that I.
We gotta say so at the full commission meeting anyway.
You're gonna be there anyway.
What about budget?
Committee meetings.
I don't have the budget schedule, but I don't think they have started
No.
their.
What about the 17th?
All right, yeah.
I'll still be out of town, but y'all can go ahead and have it. I mean, that I can.
We have no committee meetings on the 16th or the 17th, or the 19th.
I don't have anything on the 19th. I'm good on the 19th.
How about the 19th then? We're used to Thursdays.
Commission's on the 12th.
I said it a while ago, and I thought somebody,
That was me.
the 19th.
Oh, you're out that whole week?
is out,
Oh.
so. But, I
It's
mean,
just-
go ahead.
It's just one.
Go ahead and have it. I mean,
I think we sort of ought to have it that week. I mean, if we get past that, we're really,
Yeah.
I'll get a shot to critique it at the full commission
all right.
anyway.
If you want, I'll vote for him that night, proxy.
April the 19th,
I was gonna try to do
All
that.
right, 5:30?
5:30.
Let me ask you this, he's not available on the 16th?
He's still on the way.
Me
Both of us.
Commissioner Schaefer, on the 16th, we're both out.
Okay, so the 19th, one of you will be available?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Is the 19th okay with everybody else?
Will you be out the entire week of the 23rd?
No, I'm here the whole week of the 23rd.
I will.
You'll be out the whole week.
It's one or the other, so, it's, like I said, I'll get a shot at it budget, so I'm
It's
not.
budget time. Y'all supposed to be
For
here
it,
the whole
full
spring,
commission.
all the way to July 1st. What's
I
up?
got a job.
No,
I'm not retired anymore. I got a job.
I'm thinking if
I'm
we're
in
gonna wait
school,
till the
so-
19th, why don't we just do it on the 23rd?
Say something.
Yeah.
your chairperson.
I won't be here.
I mean, could you make the 19th a regular meeting and including this,
Hey, that's fine with me.
the budget? So you won't have to have another 23rd meeting?
Is that enough time to advertise it?
Oh, yeah.
So that 5 days, I think 5 business days.
One meeting?
For
You sure you want to put everything in on one meeting?
Well,
Put a limit on
Everything
the
else will
time?
just be a report.
Yeah.
Huh?
if everybody make motions in seconds.
26. Just that.
Take it
Or if
report.
nobody has a report to give.
They
Oh.
can do the-
Can we just take
Hey.
reports and do a consent,
Well, that's,
consent
that's,
agenda like
I
that?
mean, he had
That one
proposed
time?
So we don't
those
even know
days.
if what's gonna
Can we
happen
submit
then.
reports?
Uh,
Take a look at
That
it.
is a very good point. Why don't we do that? All reports will be a consent agenda. If anybody's got any budgetary, items, we'll
Hear them.
we'll hear them. That way we can kind of cut our meeting a little bit shorter. We can do this one time. I don't think we can do it every time like this, but this one time. And by doing this, it's gonna save taxpayer dollars.
So we're gonna,
Do you want them to give their reports to Vicki? Do they still need to show up, or?
Just in case somebody has a question on their
Okay,
report.
so you do want department
Yeah.
heads to attend, okay.
Yeah, and then that way, once the consent agenda is approved, they can leave.
Or we just
gonna
So
approve it.
it's the
and ask
19th.
the question in the next.
Yeah, I mean, it's
not.
you don't have to
If
approve
they're
it
asking
anyway.
for new money, it's gonna be on consent on every one of them, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I don't know
I'm
about
talking
the
about,
rest
no,
of it.
if there's a, I'm talking about just a report on.
Well, and we won't know that till they set it in front of us, Gary.
Well, they'll be sent to you prior to the meeting, so you'll have an opportunity to review them.
But if it's a budget transfer, they gotta come before, they gotta make a report, if it's a budget transfer.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
Yeah. If it's just a report, we can do the, you know, at the first, and then they can leave. Or like I say, they don't need to show up and, if we have a question, we can ask them the next meeting.
But if they do have a budget transfer, they have to be here.
Yes.
Yeah, they'll have to be.
Okay, so the department head only has to show up if they have a budget transfer.
Correct.
If it's just a written report, they do not have to
Now,
come.
if there's any questions on the report, we can ask it the next month. Do this to save time and save some money for the special call meeting.
So 19th.
Yeah,
And we're canceling the 23rd.
correct.
Okay.
Is that okay with everybody?
Can we get started at 5 o'clock?
Man, he must think everybody's retired.
No, I'm just old, you know, and I start going to sleep
Yeah.
about
It's my bedtime right now.
I can meet at 5.
5:30 is okay, I just was asking.
I can make 5.
I can make 5.
If it's
Can y'all?
started a little bit early.
What about-
we can get
I
everything.
can do the
we can
office.
get all
You're
that
not being
stuff out
here,
of the
that's
way.
right.
Yeah, but I can be
Well,
here at 5.
everybody can
Okay,
be here
at
at
5, okay, 5 o'clock.
That's cool.
By 5:30, the time we normally have a meeting, we can have all the consent agenda items out of the way and just go right into the budget.
Yeah.
Right.
Mr. Chairman, I do have some other business that, Ms. Stevenson's here. I didn't see her here earlier, I would've asked her earlier,
All right.
when this was happening, you're handling all of the county's HR other than the constitutional officers? Are you handling,
I'm handling all the HR with the exception of the sheriff's office and the highway department.
what about the ambulance service? Are you doing all theirs, or?
Not all of theirs, I'm doing a portion of theirs.
Okay,
Doing the postings and
is there,
doing ours.
is there any way we can get that all under you? I know that's something that, there's been a lot of bickering going on, and, you know, folks have criticized the sheriff about HR. We can't control him. He can do his own thing. But we can control everything inside the general budget. And if the ambulance service is inside the general budget, it all needs to go to you. That's just my personal opinion. I don't think we need to have somebody doing part of it over here and somebody doing part of it over there. I think it all needs to be centralized in you, and I think that's something that a lot of the commissioners on this, the whole 21 of us, want one centralized HR for the general fund of the county, because that's what we have invested in your department. And
I'm
if
not
they're
sure-
doing part of it,
I'm not sure that saves any particular money.
it's
because-
not saving any money. You're going to be verbatim. You're just centralizing it into one agency. She works directly for us
I think
as the
that-
HR director, and it gives a better accountability for the HR if it's all streamlined under one
Well,
department.
I think also that the ambulance service director works for the county mayor.
She works for us.
Well, that's true, but we can't, you know, tell the mayor, you know, one of his department heads
I
works for
think
him.
the ambulance department, I mean,
I just don't think it's fair for one department to have some HR, and then we tell another department, no, you can't do that. It's only fair to either be all or none amongst the county general. I mean, there should be some good discussion on this.
The ambulance service isn't county general anymore. It's its own fund, like.
Still using 8 cents.
Well,
So until it's a
the
cost zero.
The highway department and the sheriff's department use it. The other constitutional officers can do the same thing. It's the sheriff.
But he is elected. The
So
ambulance
is-
service is not elected.
No.
They follow their own handbook.
But listen in here though, and you should know this as well. Coming from where you come from and work at, the ambulance service is kind of specialized. There's certain licensings and certain criteria that she's good, don't get me wrong. But there's some things that she don't have the expertise in, that someone as a paramedic or someone has that critical care experience is gonna have knowledge about and needs to actually,
My employer still only has one HR that they answer to and that they go to.
Only one person?
No, they don't have one person. They have one HR department. My boss goes to the HR department. They don't have their own HR within their own agency. And all I'm saying is we streamline that.
I'm talking about specializing in things. She doesn't have the knowledge about.
The position transferred would have that knowledge. It would just be, instead of that position being, their boss would be Mike Nunley, that position would be, that their position would answer to Sonia Stevenson.
I think Mike Nunley works for this man right here, and I think it's the mayor's call.
I think it's our call.
No, sir, I don't think it is.
Mike
Nunley works for this man right here. Mike Nunley don't work for you.
We can take that money away from Mike and he can't do anything about it. We can give that money to her. And then that's that.
Well,
but while we criticize the sheriff on not doing HR, and we don't even control our own.
Compared to what she's doing,
is that not specialized? Is the sheriff's department not specialized? I mean, well, let's give everybody. Is maintenance specialized? I mean, we're on a slippery slope.
There's no justification in the department of 6 people for their own HR department. You know, there's a way to be practical and not be practical, and the ambulance program is very sophisticated, and they've got.
Well, I don't want to hear one person complain about somebody else having HR when we don't even control our own.
Who's complaining there, man?
I hear it all the time. Well, the sheriff, I know the sheriff gets complaints on it. I guarantee you, he's nodding his head back here, that he gets complaints on it from other commissioners saying, well, you turn this over here, you turn this over here. Well, we need one HR. Well, we're letting another department slide over here. And she doesn't have any say-so over that. They got their own little thing going on. And I guarantee all the information's not getting transferred like it needs to. And if you want to ask Sonia, you can. She works for us. She doesn't have to. It would be more streamlined if it was under one department, under her. That's her job. That's why we hired her. It's to handle HR for the entire county.
I believe you got an ulterior motive.
No, I don't.
On everything, because every time you come up here, you want to say something about the ambulance service.
Well, when you've got 1 point whatever million in assistant directors and supervisors in this for a department of 100 plus people, that's about what he's got for 400 people. I mean, he's got the same amount of overhead for a department of 400 as one for a department of 100.
I think all this discussion is way off point, and I don't think it's accurate. I don't think it's completely based on factual information. I really think this discussion is worthy of having. It's not a public safety discussion. It's a steering committee discussion if it needs to be held. And
because she works for the steering committee.
She works for the commission.
She reports to the steering committee.
That's fine.
And the ambulance people have done it over the last 2 or 3 years. We've had serious discussions about this overhead, and we've made remarkable progress in controlling overhead and part-time costs, etc. And
they're doing a fabulous job.
Not that we can't keep on making
but that position could go work for her.
But this, right now, that is not critical in the scheme of the things that we have facing us, and that's a property tax increase that we need to get our arms around.
Move to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Got a motion to adjourn, have a second.
Second.
And a second. All in favor, say aye.
You're
All opposed?
constitutional officers.